It's time for Type 40 Live, your live streamed Doctor Who show materialising here on the Spacebook channel. Whatever time, stream or time zone you're joining us from. We're beaming out as always, going to wherever you are and back again and across the Whoniverse. Welcome to the party once again. We're live right now, as always, on YouTube and Facebook in front of a live chat full of friends and companions just like you. I am Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, and this is Type 40 Live, our live stream show, a spin-off from the Type 40 podcast that we put out for the Fandom Podcast Network. And we've got an evening, a couple of hours at least, full of conversation and quips and other sort of nonsense, nostalgia, and that kind of thing, all coming your way with an assortment of companions and friends and everybody who's watching along in the chat. Okay, what's going on first, Dan? And where are we going? Well, first of all, it's important that if you are watching on YouTube, which is the world's largest streaming platform, so understandably most of you are. So if you are watching there, that's fine. Hello out there. But if you are watching on Facebook, you have to hit that little blue line there, hit that link, and let StreamYard know who you are. StreamYard tells Facebook, Facebook tells us, and everybody knows we're all on first name terms. We all know who one another are, and we've got a packed chat full of companions and friends already. Wow, it's so many people. Good to see you all. They've all been queuing up by the looks of things. Nice. This is what we like to see. Curtains up. Curtains up. Showtime, says the Department of Wendology there with is that a red balloon or is it a red rose, Wendy? Oh. Who else is here? Hi, everyone, says Lord Thoth, and a hail chat from Kelly. Maleville Jan Slovene says, Popsico. Well, I agree. Every letter of that, I agree wholeheartedly. Ahoy, shipmates from Crimpoline Doubloon. And lots of hellos between everybody. Evening all from Paul Murray, hails and highs and all that kind of thing. People slapping one another in the back, on the back. And congratulating one another on making it through the worst of another week. We're over hump day, aren't we? And the weekend is in sight. Okay, what have we got? What have we got first? Well, the general theme of this show is that love is in the air. Of course it is. And here in Type 40, this is what we're about, really. I mean, there's Doctor Who and all that kind of thing, but we are very much coming from the place that we celebrate what we love about it and what brings us together rather than the things that divide us. It's fun to compare the things that divide us about Doctor Who. Of course it is, but it's Doctor Who that's brought us together, and here we are sharing a love of that and a companionship between us. So I thought that was a good place to come at this entire... I can't speak this week, can I? What's wrong with me? I thought that was a good starting point to come at everything from this week. And this very first story that we have found, but let's put it this way. Some things about the 21st century, they confuse me. The way that we communicate, how we feel, and that emotion and affection that we share, it's evolving all the time, and never more so than on the average smartphone that we all keep in our pockets. We've had some news this week that's come out about emojis. Emojis, of course, we all use them. A lot of us do. Some of us use them better than others. And, I'm pretty terrible at it. So I thought I'd ask our resident millennial, the lovely Charlotte Shields, to help me make my way through this first topic.
I'm not going to be able to help you.
Can you make head or tail from this? Because this is what's happened, Charlotte. This very week, we have got, this has been revealed here, 37 brand new emojis from Apple themselves. Okay, they've just been released. They do this a couple of times a year where they reveal what are going to be the new emojis. These are 37 brand new ones. Now, I think I've worked out what some of them mean and what some of them represent, but I'm not entirely sure about some of the others. I mean, those lumps of brown are very very conspicuous, I think. But so I wonder, do you follow all this, and are you up on your emoji game? Where do you rate yourself on the emoji tally?
Like, you can tell people when we chat, I still use 4 words on Messenger. Like, I don't use text speak ever. So, and I just use like the smiley face, and that's the breadth of my use of emojis. But I sort of get the heart thing because I do that sometimes when I'm on stream. So yeah, I get that one.
That was an athlete was the one who brought that to common usage, wasn't it? I can't remember his name, but one of the Commonwealth Games or the Olympics or something like that.
Yeah, but it's like a slide, like an X-ray. Like, how are you going to use that in normal conversation?
I was just wondering about that one on the top row. Are we saluting? I thought it was something growing out of his head. No, it's
Yeah,
baffled me.
he is.
But the thing is, Charlotte, as Doctor Who fans, I'm just wondering where is the TARDIS one? We keep asking Apple for a TARDIS emoji every year, still no show. What do you think of this, JT and Simon? What do you make of all of this?
Well, I want the glitter ball. That's the one I want, is the glitter ball that's in there. That's about the only one that I'm interested in.
Evening, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Hello. Hi, Spacebookers.
Hello, all.
Yeah, so I've been looking at these emojis, and you do have to wonder, because sometimes, as Doctor Who fans, when I'm communicating with you guys, sometimes I think, I could do with throwing a little police box in here, but we still haven't got one. What do you think it is about? You can get the Star Trek one, can't you, with the Live Long and Prosper? You can get that.
It's probably you can. It's probably the BBC have probably not
Yeah,
given
probably
the
is.
copyright to use a police box. I would thought, at a rough guess.
Yeah,
Dunno.
but I'm just thinking on Twitter though you can do it, can't you? Because I've seen like the Doctor Who official like use a little TARDIS box. So how come on those you can't have one?
Don't know. But I mean, you're asking the person who only does Facebook, and anything else. There's not a chance of me knowing.
It's odd, isn't it, guys? Because I often say that society is regressing, and here we are using hieroglyphics. It's very bizarre.
Brilliant. You're quite right.
Where do you rate your emoji game then on a scale of 1 to 5, JT?
0.
You're not using them at all.
Well, when we're talking, I use the odd thing, but it's not. I'd rather use
a smiley face, don't you? I mean, that's about all you need. Is a smiley
occasionally, yeah, I'll use that, but I just think the rest of it's a little bit. It's not me. I'm a product of the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? I've got a bit more of a life.
We have people in the chat here. I'm sure they're all smiling and doing that heart symbol at home. We just can't see them. We've got David Mullen, for example, who says hello or settle down for a Thursday evening chill out, Type 40 style.
Lovely, yeah.
It's been a long week for Wendy. She's looking forward to a bit of Type 40 fun. We'll do our level best, Wendy. We'll do our level best. Richard Brooks says, good evening, folks.
Hi, Richard.
Got lots of hellos and heys and highs and all this kind of stuff. It's always good to see from some familiar faces and some not. Hello there from the Darren Zone. And we've got Maleville, Jan Slitheen as well joining us, I think, for the first time.
Popsico, that's definitely the word of the day. Popsico, I'm having that.
Someone let me know what that means. Alison Stevenson says, hiya, Dan and all you lovely people in the chat. Hope you're all well. Same to you, Alison. Good to see you as always. And hello, Richard. The time muddler. Nice to join all you Spacebookers. Can't wait to see how the chat goes. I just love the name, JT. Love the name.
That's great, yes. And I like his graphic.
Yeah, cool.
Hi, Philip.
Hello, Phil.
Meta Whovian. Hi, Meta Whovian says Jodie is pregnant. Yes, we know. Congratulations, of course, to Jodie Whittaker on the. I'm not sure how far along she is, but yeah, I saw the pictures. Saw that. Aidan McGeer says hello, one and all. Good stuff. And thank you, Wendy. 3 roses.
We know that emoji. We're all right with that one.
Yeah, I think we get that one.
Yes, so looking at these emojis, I'm not impressed, quite frankly. I mean, some of them, you're not going to. Some of them.
Can somebody please tell me what is the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down? The first one, 5 lines down. What is that?
No idea.
That is a.
Is it a glass?
Spilling, it looks like spilling of red wine, Charlotte. But why?
Yeah, it looks like glass being tipped.
Oh, I see. Right.
I thought it was something on a stand. It looked like some sort of flag or something on a stand. Oh, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, I think
it's the water. I think it is wine. I think Dan's right there. It's like a glass with the wine coming out. You're tipping it.
Yeah, you could be right. I've spilled a drink.
Yeah,
what's directly above that?
Why would anybody be? Yeah, why would anybody be texting or have just spilt a drink anyway?
I have no idea, but I think it's past the joke. It's past the joke now, everybody. It's the 60th anniversary soon. It is time that we got represented, I think, so we can all identify our love. Get that sorted. So get on to who is it over? Who is the
copyright that quick?
at Apple. Yeah, we'll get onto them all. Mass tweets to them or whatever. Ideal for the 60th anniversary coming up. If they really care, then they will. They'll get the Doctor Who emoji.
They don't
sorted out. Yeah. Who else is here? Yeah, B2, Simon. People agreeing with you.
What did I say?
We have an answer. Male Jan Slitheen says Popsico is everyone's favourite spin-off.
Is it?
From what?
From what?
Doctor Who?
Whatever it is, I'm having it.
Yes, it's
the Doctor Who spin-offs now.
POPs. I have no idea.
We have an answer here, Charlotte, on that emoji from Carol Jude. She says, is it for when you're respecting someone who's died? You pour a drink out onto the ground. Is that a custom in some cultures?
Pour a drink onto a ground?
Yeah, where have you heard that?
What's that about? You don't waste the drink on the ground. Pour it into your mouth.
Yeah, I think somebody's got it.
Oh, Carol, you're funny.
You'll never get drunk doing that, will you, Blue? No, yeah, you won't. Good to see you, Blue Bonnet Whovian. Apparently it's from the Sarah Jane Adventures, Popsico, so I think we need to up our game there.
Do you know, I haven't watched any of the Sarah Jane Adventures for ages, and I've got them over there in a mess. And I really must go and revisit.
Is it the drink?
That's what I
thought.
It's the drink, isn't it?
No, that was Bubble Shock. That was Bubble Shock.
Oh, right.
It was. Well, it should have been Popsico, whatever it is.
I think you could be right. Okay, so given the fact that this is the theme of this show is love. Of course, we are in Valentine's week, everybody. So we're bringing you the love, and we're sharing the love between one another. Wherever you are on the great divide between Doctor Who fandom, we're all Doctor Who fans. We're reaching out to you for a couple of hours at least, but in the way that we celebrate Doctor Who, and so individually in our own lives, in our own way. And of course, our connection with the show, with each of us, is quite individual, isn't it? It's quite subjective. But there are some areas in which we are united, and when it comes to symbols of Doctor Who, like the TARDIS. Things that everybody recognises. You only have to see them in certain contexts, and you think, and that affection comes out. Now, I wondered if you'd seen this, because there's been last year. This stretches back to a story from last year, and apparently one particular police box, because there are still police boxes out in the wild, and this one. In Wales, this had been left to go to rack and ruin, but it's been revealed this week. This is the Newport TARDIS. Did you see this news story? So the Newport TARDIS has been restored to its former glory here, and this is exactly what I mean. People showing Doctor Who some love, because if it wasn't an item, even though it looks very, very different from the police box that we see in Doctor Who, JT, if it wasn't for the Doctor Who connection, this thing would have probably been demolished years ago, wouldn't it?
Well, that's certainly the case up here in Scotland with the Glasgow boxes. There are 5 or 6 boxes still in Glasgow, which are recognisable as the ones that the BBC now own for Doctor Who.
Really?
And they have been looked after simply because of its connection to the show. And they've been all sorts of things in recent years because they've rented them out. So they've been coffee shops, and they've been mini shops.
I've seen that.
Yeah, they've been information, they've been art installations. So I think when you've got these sort of things, they are part of British heritage as well. So it's wonderful that they should be looked after.
This one, I think it was left for quite a while to just sort of accrue graffiti, the way one would expect. But it says here that it's a former phone box in Somerton, which looks like the TARDIS from the popular BBC TV show, made national headlines in the 1980s after a scarf was painted around it. That was in tribute to Tom Baker's classic look. But over the years, it had been left to sort of just go a bit manky, really, and for people to graffiti. But lo and behold, it's been grade 2 listed now, and fully restored now to its former glory. So it's on Acacia Avenue. If anybody knows where that is in Newport, get down there, get a selfie with it. Maybe Tom himself will go along at some point. And there's
look at the amount of trees they've lost.
Look at how but I think that's really beautiful. It goes on to remind us there, JT, that between 1929 and 1938, there were 1,000 police boxes installed across Britain. But those numbers are drastically reduced.
Wow.
They were once used by officers to phone into the station. That story that we all know.
But funnily enough, I was watching the other night. I was watching a Will Hay comedy, Ask a Policeman, one of my favourites.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And sure enough, just towards the end, and I forgot about this, just towards the end, yeah, there is a police box in there. Because, of course, when Ask a Policeman was made back in when would it be, in the 50s, probably.
50s.
And police boxes were everywhere, and so sure enough, there is the inevitable chase at the end of the film, and they go past a police box, and there's a policeman or somebody standing there at the police box on the phone. You know, it always been for Doctor Who fans. It just brings a little thrill when you see a police box out in the wild.
Yes, because they were real. They used to be there. Yeah. Oh, let's say hello to Jamie. Oh, yes, Mavis Cruitt. Yes, Jamie. Yes.
Jamie Reese says hello. I'm late. Looking forward to the show. Yeah, we've got a few people rolling in, and people also, saying that they know Glasgow very, very well, and saying they've been to the boxes and maybe eaten from the cafe that you were talking about.
I've seen the coffee shop a few times. Driven past the coffee shop TARDIS.
The Time modeler notices that the new paint job there has a Children in Need vibe about it. And maybe it does. Maybe it does.
Yeah.
There's one box that actually mystifies me in Glasgow because it moves. It's very odd. It's very odd. Every now and then it'll relocate, and I'm thinking somebody's having a laugh.
Yes, the homage. Nice little homage. It keeps moving around.
So maybe it sort of bolts into the floor or something like that.
I've no idea, but I get annoyed. I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Maybe it is the TARDIS. Maybe it's the only real TARDIS.
Peter, get in touch with me, please. I am coming to Liverpool. It'd be nice to meet you up for a coffee. Let me know through Dan or something how I can get in touch with you.
Yes, please do. Peter Harrington and Crimpling Doubloon are united in your appreciation there of the Will Hay film, Simon.
Brilliant. Love
Alison Stevenson says, if ever I get married now, I want a TARDIS-shaped wedding cake. What an awesome idea. I've seen those, and I've had a TARDIS-shaped birthday cake. I think
I think we all have, haven't we?
Peter Harrington says, weren't they made of concrete? I believe most of them were, weren't they?
Were. Yeah. The ones in Glasgow certainly are. But there were wooden ones, I think, in London. But of course, they didn't last too long.
I have to look up on this. I'm not sure if there were any wooden ones. There weren't many. Mostly there were.
No, there weren't many. They were rare. Yeah.
And so the BBC got it completely wrong when they sort of created this battered wooden box for the TARDIS.
They didn't have any money.
I had no idea. Okay, now before we get into anything else, I just wanted to remind you guys that last week we launched a competition, didn't we, as part of our 50th Type 40 live stream. Of course, this was last week. Thank you so much. That's the wrong one.
It's going well so far, isn't it, Facebook? It's going well.
I can barely speak. I don't know what I'm doing. What's going on? So last week we
not like it's live or anything like that.
Yeah,
it'll be fine. No one will notice. Yeah. So last week we held our 50th live stream show. It went beautifully. We had a blast, and as always, thank you for all the comments that you've sent in since. All that interaction and all the sharing to people who've been sharing the show along to people who they think may enjoy it or not. So it's always appreciated, and keep the comments coming. There's more of that, of course there is. And last week, JT, we launched our competition, didn't we?
We did, yes, because I've got it here. I'll show you what it is, because we were 50 years old last week. So what we've got, if you are interested in this, you can enter a competition. You can get the Doctor Who 2017 colouring calendar, where you can have hours and hours of fun all through the year, colouring that.
Chris Chibnall would love that, because he's got a lot of crayons, hasn't he? They use.
He really does. And then you can also win
3 colours.
Only 3 colours.
About 3 colours.
As part of that, you can also win these standees from 20. Where was it from? The 40th anniversary. You can win a TARDIS.
I won that TARDIS.
You can win Michael Wisher one, and you can win a Dalek, all sealed, as you can see, never opened. So you can win those. Cool. And then you can win a first edition Target book. You can win the Twin Dilemma. You can win the wonderful Ice Warriors classic read, brilliant read. And then you can win the Green Death, all first editions. You can win those. And to win those, all you have to do is answer this very special question. Now, this question was the most favourite question on old Saturday morning television here in Britain. Oh, and this competition is only open to the United Kingdom, I'm afraid. So it is TARDIS stand for.
There we are. What do those initials TARDIS stand for? That's the question you need to answer. JT's so excited he's paused for thought.
Yeah.
You need to get in touch with us through our social media, Instagram and Twitter, type 40 Doctor Who, or through the email or the Facebook page. Just get in touch. Send us your answer to that all-important question to stand a chance of winning JT swag there in the type 40 competition. And we'll be giving you the winner on the very next show. So there's just one more round to go of that before we'll be wrapping it up. But thank you to everybody who's entered so far. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Jamie Reese wants to know if you win my shirt this week. No, you don't win my shirt this week. Maybe I will try and find one of my old shirts that's going to the charity shop, and I'll give that one away.
Oh, what else?
There you go.
Got? People find that amusing. We've got people popping answers in the chat. You're going to have to get in touch through the social media before you. Yeah, we can't take answers here, but we can through the social media. Yes, it's the world's hardest question, says Philip King. Of course it is. Hi, all from James A. Fitzpatrick. A bit late for that. And you're going back in time, Dan, says the time modeler. I never know whether I'm coming or going, time modeler. I blame you. This is the first time you've turned up, and all hell and havoc has broken loose, time modeler. It's all broken loose. Okay, yes. Now I've had a couple of comments already about the thumbnail art to this very stream, asking who is that? Who is that in the picture? Is it a relative? Is it a friend? What's her phone number? All that kind of thing. So this is the thumbnail art for this week's show. And yes, there's a bit of a story behind this, because it's from a photo shoot. Okay, get a load of this. It's from a photo shoot from a pop star, believe it or not, based in Turkey. This is Aleyna Tilki. She's from Turkey, and she graduated from Turkey's Got Talent, and she has the record for the most viewed Turkish video in the entire history of YouTube. So she's a pop star. Oh. And for a recent release, which is called, let me get this right, Retrograde, she had a whole sort of sci-fi theme to it, and it involving her getting married and embarking on a life of domestic bliss and love with a Cyberman. So it's all the publicity thing. She's signed to the Warner Music label, and gentlemen, all you guys who are asking, I know what you're thinking. The answer's 23. 23. So she's put out an entire photo shoot, all with this same kind of vibe of her living with this Cyberman. So as if this wasn't funny enough, this is where she looks like he's sort of combing her hair. We've got the wedding snaps here as well, Simon.
What?
So we have the rings going on. We've got walking down the aisle. We've got the cutting of the cake. So has anybody heard of Aleyna Tilki? Because I've got to be honest, I hadn't. She must be a lunatic.
But Dan, I mean, yes. How did you find her? Like what's the word am I thinking of? Draw. What's the draw? Yes.
I can't imagine. I got no idea.
I just couldn't help looking at the lovely picture. If you can go back to the previous picture, I just rather like the painting in the back of her. I love that painting. That's all I'm looking at. It's the painting. I just love that painting.
It looks like Canary Wharf.
It's very Bauhaus, isn't it? Or a bit Douglas Turnbull, the late Douglas Turnbull who died this week. Yes, we've got.
I like the Cyberman costume though; it's quite nice.
This is it. And the strange thing about it, JT, is that it's one of the Cybermen that only really appeared once in the show.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the Dennis Fisher one to me, but I quite like it.
You know what? I thought the same thing, JT. It doesn't like the Dennis Fisher, darling.
I just thought immediately of Revenge of the Cybermen. So, yeah, have we got any Aleyna Tilki fans out there? Because I've got to be honest, I don't listen to pop music anymore. I listen to stuff from the 80s and the 90s.
Yay!
The noughties at a push. So, yeah, is she like a really big deal? I don't know if you are an Aleyna Tilki fan, and we're just not with it. Turkey's Got Talent, indeed, says Daniel Lynch. He's a fan.
Daniel, go with that one.
Daniel, I'll have words with you if you
I think it's probably best to move on that one.
I'm gonna look her up though, because I'm interested to know what sort of pop she's doing.
I'll send you some links. Yeah, crikey, the moths have been at the dress as the talents of Wayne Chiang. And mate Christian from the Travelling TARDIS says next week she'll be dating a Dalek. It'll all be over. Possible.
And I'm liking James Fitzpatrick's comment. Bring back Troilus' arms from last week.
Richard notes that it's a mix of 70s and 80s Cyberman.
Yeah,
Is it?
Only us as Doctor Who fans would go into this much detail about this nonsense.
Yes.
That's what we do, folks. That's what it's all about.
I just thought it was so unusual, and the Cyberman costume is cool, though. Says James Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
Of course, being the perfectionists that we are, we expect very high standards. And Aidan says, "I think we can see the guy's eyes there behind the helmet, just like the Mondasian Cybermen from the 10th planet."
Yeah.
So nice try, Aleyna, but it's not quite to the standard that Kylie had when she was on tour.
I wonder if anybody's going to try and sue her. Oh, she's got Warners behind her. She's fine.
Peter Harrington says, "Let's do the Eurovision with a Cyberman."
Oh, that would be cool.
I'm amazed.
It would suit Eurovision as well. It would suit
certainly
it to a T.
Well, it worked for Kylie, so let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And we've got here we are. Look, he's there. He's,
no.
he's got his girl there. It's So obviously, congratulations, Cyberman and Aleyna, on your life together. Best of luck and all that. And this is what you got to look for. This is the album or the single or whatever it is, and the final shot there from, I think that's from her Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Go and check that out. And if the music's any good, let us know by all means. Our viewers have shot up in the last 5 minutes. Everybody, the viewers have just gone through the roof. I don't know why. Must be something I'm saying.
It could be her fans. Hello to her fans. I hope you're enjoying her work.
It's the Turkish fans, the Turkish Doctor Who fans have found us at last, Charlotte.
Oh, I know. We've been courting them for so long, and we finally got
At last. At last.
Oh, Murray, is the ring gold? Brilliant.
Hi, Paul.
Cyberman's going to be in trouble if it is. I tell you what, that's going to be a honeymoon that it's going to be a very short-lived wedding. If a short-lived marriage.
He'll have a very nasty rash, won't he?
He will indeed.
Yeah,
And so shall we eventually.
You noticed the gold ring.
Yeah. Alison Stevenson can understand why she's so popular.
I can't.
And,
I haven't heard the music yet. No.
Yeah, no, it's hard to say until we know, isn't it? And Vanessa Moore.
Oh, you've got to go back to that one, Dan. Are they going for a honeymoon base? Oh, the jokes is getting brilliant on this show.
Charlotte of Wei Chang, are they going for a honeymoon base? We are not.
Well done.
Well
done.
Just incredible.
You should have your own show.
Yeah, we'll start writing for this show, mate. We'll start writing for the show. Okay. Well, yes, it is Valentine's week. Of course it is. And you've still got time. There's still a few postage days to get something ordered. And I thought you'd like this. Get a load of this, Charlotte, because there's something here I think you're going to like. Here we are. This is from an Etsy shop called Dandelion Designs. And they have a whole line of geeky and Doctor Who related custom Valentine cards. Check this out for a good old play.
Oh.
Got one featuring the 10th Doctor and one featuring the 11th. And what does that say on the 11th Doctor, Charlotte? I know you like him.
How much do I love you out of
10?
10, 11? No, 11, but is that
11.
10 above?
Yeah, I think it is meant to say 10 rather than 70.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to work.
Yeah. How much do I love you out of 10? 11.
Oh, God, I'm slow. Right now I'm getting it.
Yeah. I love you to the moon and back that much.
There's a whole
I can tell JT's loving these.
Really? Don't.
There's a whole shop full of them to see at Dandelion Designs on Etsy. I'll put the link in the show notes later. Still a couple of postage days to get yours dispatched through.
Yeah, if you've got another half who's another fan, it's a bit of
exactly.
Yeah, it's harmless.
Oh,
yeah.
Who cares about that? You got to get converting them. Another way you can convert the your other half, the not we in your life, is sitting them down in front of Forces TV. We talked to you last week about how Forces TV was starting to show classic Doctor Who, which seemed to just come completely out of the blue, didn't it, JT?
It did, yes. It came really out of the blue.
And we have now.
I was really unprepared for that.
You couldn't tell, JT.
No, just impro, love, impro.
Oh, God. Yeah, so we have confirmation. This is Forces TV, a UK TV station. Here's the details. You can find them on Sky Channel 181, Virgin Channel 274, Freesat 165, Freeview 96, or UView 96. And we have confirmation, because what we couldn't tell you last week were the exact stories that were going to be shown in this season. But we have them now, everybody. We have them now. So here we are. We've got the Spearhead from Space. That's what it's started with. These are in double bills. Then they're going into the Demons. Then over to the Tom Baker era for Genesis of the Daleks.
Obviously.
Terror of the Zygons and the Robots of Death.
Yay!
Staying with Tom Baker for the City of Death and Legopolis.
Okay.
It's a good run for Tom, isn't it? Really good run.
It is a good run.
Yeah.
A couple of stories from the Davis era. They're showing Kinder.
Yay!
Oh, wow. I'm impressed.
Highbrow choice. But it has got a military element as well. They're showing Kinder, Earthshock, and the Caves of Androzani. I think it would have been a miracle if they didn't show that. Yeah. And just one each from the McCoy and Colin Baker era. So we've got Vengeance on Varos before the season closes out with Remembrance of the Daleks, that full part from the
So they've gone for the absolute obvious ones, but who can blame them? Fair enough. You know, if anything is going to win a new audience to Doctor Who, those are the kind of stories you would pick to win over the Notweep. So
proper Doctor Who, really good
Could
classic
be.
with some great stories, great narrative, superb acting, and really good monsters in them as well. Some of them of whom are legendary monsters now. It's just amazing. So let's all get behind it. If you're in the United Kingdom, let's watch it and let's see how it does.
This is it. It could be just the start of something, I feel. And Forces being such as it is, when they tap into an audience, I think they're now 2 or 3 different screenings, rotations through of things like Blake 7 and Space 1999. And there's so much Doctor Who, isn't there, Charlotte? You can see why they would want to sort of cherry pick and tease.
Oh yeah, and for me it comes across as a lot of those stories were quite, I don't say dark because that's an overused term, but it seems to me like they're going for the more slightly, like I said, dark, more gritty sort of stories. So, it's a really good choice. And like, the only thing is, and somebody pointed this out, I bet people though who paid for BritBox aren't very happy right now because they got told, oh, it's just going to be on BritBox Classic Who. It was like massive marketing thing for them. So I bet they're not as happy as we are. But
well, they can cancel, can't they? I mean, you could see that. These things have been out on VHS, they've been out on DVD, they're coming out on Blu-ray again. It was part of the marketing. Please sign to BritBox. Doctor Who's the lead one. Didn't have the effect that they wanted, Charlotte, did it? But it's more exposure for the show and for people like yourself who are trying to get through the eras. There's a lovely taster there, and then you can find out more about where they slot into the continuity of the show, which season, etc., etc. I think it's great.
Yeah, because that's the way I'm doing it. I'm not like doing one Doctor at a time. I'm doing like a Doctor a week. So that's how I'm doing it, and it does help you.
We'll see you in 26 years then.
Yeah, it helps because then you sort of get a taste of each Doctor, and then you can quickly get like the mannerisms. I think almost that way a bit quicker. Instead from doing a whole block of one Doctor.
Here's an oddity we've got as well. From Crimpling to Blue, and advises that Talking Pictures TV is showing A Hitch in Time, starring Patrick Troughton, 9:50 on Saturday, the 19th of February. So that's in just over a week's time. That film where he plays an inventor who built his own time machine. That was a film made by the Children's Film Foundation. Used to be shown on British TV, usually once a year, all through the 80s, wasn't it?
Wonderful.
I've never seen it. I've never seen that.
Yeah, Children's BBC used to show it at least once a year, usually in a block. That I think they'd got the rights to say 15 or 20 of these things, and whenever it was the school holidays and they needed to
summer holidays especially,
pop them on, wouldn't they? So it's a funny little film, that, and I do wish it was available on DVD.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for that, Crimply. I shall set the timer for that. I'm interested in that.
Crimply's good at these things. He highlights. Crimply, he or she highlighted some stuff at Christmas as well. So thank you for that.
Because they're geek.
Pluto TV still has the Doctor Who channel, but the stories are limited, advises Vanessa.
There you go.
And Paul Murray says the choice is great on BritBox. Well, they've got everything, I believe, haven't they? Absolutely everything.
Well, they certainly had. They had got everything on there.
Daniel Leach says, I tried and failed to get my mum into Doctor Who. I'm the only Doctor Who fan in the house. Please save me.
I think, Daniel, to be fair, we're probably all in that particular situation. We're all the only Doctor Who fan in our house, wherever we are.
Or have been at some point. John Yulden says, do you think this is BBC Studios trying to rebuild interest in Doctor Who again by putting some of the best stories in the show's history out on Forces? I don't think it's going to hurt them. I don't think it's anything to do with. I don't think BBC in the equation at all.
To do with them, I think they've missed the
boat. It would require foresight, wouldn't it, Simon?
Yeah, absolutely, and they're not very good at that. I would imagine it's Forces TV that have had the idea and gone to BBC and got the rights to do it.
I think you're right there, because what Forces TV is doing, as Dan said before, is that they are doing all these sort of classic shows now. Sapphire Steel has been there. Blake 7 has been on there. Space 1999 is either due or on there just now. So there's all these lovely little things, and Doctor Who fits in nicely, doesn't it? So, as Simon says, it doesn't hurt the BBC at all. And as with next year with the 60th, if they start running more for the 60th anniversary next year, that's even better for the show. We hope.
The Hitch in Time is apparently available on DVD, so Peter Harrington's just corrected me. Peter, when you get in touch, you'll have to send me a link. Let me know what label it's on, because I'd definitely go and pick that up. Yeah. And Avon lives there from Lord Thoth. That never goes amiss. So yes, whilst I remember, if you've been here this long, we've got lots of new people, new faces, new names in the chat. Please like the video. Subscribe to the channel, because we do this all the time. We ramble on like this all the time. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Hit the little cloister bell so you get the notifications about when we go live next, or when we drop a podcast or an extra video, whatever else we do here on the channel. We'd hate for you to miss all of the good stuff going forward. Thank you again, Peter. And later on in the show, yes, we'll be talking about, well, there's lots more nostalgia coming up for a start, and we'll be talking a little bit about our favourite subject, Doctor Who ratings. Hold tight.
But don't let that put you off, Spacebookers. Stay with us. Stay with us.
And there will be good stuff as well.
Yeah, never mind, Chris. We can't possibly leave that one lying. But yeah, we are talking about the happier side, the unifying side to current the Doctor Who Whoniverse here on Type 40 Live this week. And this is the theme, for the love of Doctor Who. The simple jammy dodger that was...
Put a star on it now. When did they put a star on a jammy dodger?
I don't know. I think they change them all the time. I think they pimp them out quite regularly. Yeah.
Stars? What did they used to be then? I
think they were just the biscuit, weren't they? I'll tell you what I saw the other day when I was in B&M looking for certain Doctor Who things. B&M, get your act together. I noticed dinosaur and unicorn sort of jammy dodgers. So one was had pink stuff in it, and the other had green in it. Oh, unnatural.
Yeah, it's not quite right. I think originally they just had the logo of Burton's or whichever the manufacturer was across the middle. Yeah, but now you get Christmas tree ones, you get the star ones, you get rainbow ones.
Oh, gorgeous, yeah.
Not that kind of rainbow, sadly. Oh. You get all sorts of things, depending on, well, for example, if it's Pride Month or whatever else is going, or the Olympics, for example, they do limited edition ones, as I understand it. Yeah, the humble jammy dodger has taken on a new life of its own. But now, of course, when I see a jammy dodger, I automatically think of Matt Smith, Charlotte.
Oh yes, it was one of his little quirks.
Yeah, and it's little things like that. The jelly babies is a prime example. Lately, they tried to do the same with the custard creams, didn't they? But I think particularly the jelly babies and the jammy dodgers. Matt Smith was only seen holding one on screen twice, so it can't have amounted to more than 10 seconds. And immediately, and I think to this day, Burton's, who make the official jammy dodgers, they've still got "As Eaten by Doctor Who" on their website. It's
do they?
Yeah.
Can't blame them for capitalising on it.
Well,
absolutely.
No. It's a shame that Bassett didn't do the same thing back in '89. might have helped.
Yeah, they just sued the BBC.
They just sued the hell out of them. Oh dear. Doctor Who ahead of its time. Yeah.
You can't beat a jammy dodger, says Daniel Leach watching on YouTube.
Well, you can if you've got a big stick.
You can, but you get lots of bits and it'll all be sticky. It'd end up on, it wouldn't be good.
I'm a custard cream girl, says Alison Stevenson. Say no more. I think I've seen that film. No. The Time Wonder says, "Happy Faces biscuits." Well,
I remember Happy Faces.
It's a playful mood tonight, everybody. It's a playful mood. What were Happy Faces?
They were Happy Face biscuit.
as I recall, wasn't one side a smiley face? I think there was sandwich biscuits again, like jammy Dodgers.
Really?
I can't remember much about
Yeah,
them.
they were like the jammy Dodger. My sister used to love them. Hi, my sister, if she's watching, which she probably isn't. Hi, but she used to love those, and it had the smiley face on one side, and you would turn it up around, and it would sometimes have a sad face. But you turned it upside down, it was a happy face again.
Faces, didn't they?
Yeah. And it was jam, wasn't it, in the middle?
You were going to get.
Yeah, and
the eyes. As I recall, the eyes. The eyes were red from the jammy, and had got a smiley, white mouth from the foam, from the
foam thing.
From the creamy filling.
And cool. Bring them back, and send them to us free.
But this is the thing with Doctor Who and the culture that surrounds it. Things have only got to be on screen for a few moments, and they can be latched onto and turned into into fan art, or they can be endorsed or not, associated with one character or another, and it all adds something, I feel, to the texture of the Doctor Who universe. They've had hits and they've had misses. I mean, it's strange that we have that with the Jammy Dodger there. And yet in the very same episode, Charlotte, Stephen Moffat and the design team had spent a small fortune in creating those brand new Daleks. And people, which I was always quite fond of myself, but they spent a fortune on those and nobody really took to them. But the idea of the Doctor eating a Jaffa cake, eat a Jaffa cake, in a Jammy Dodger. Yeah, we'll have that. We'll take that. Well,
that's more British, isn't it? Don't you think, Charlotte?
It's more British. And also in Matt's first episode, he also had another food thing, like the fish, the custard and fish fingers. Yeah. So I think almost Matt's Doctor came a bit like weirdly associated with like food and like these odd little like things he'd have to do with food. So it made sense.
Greedy man.
But as I say, that to me is what Doctor Who is about. It isn't. Can you ever imagine Star Trek talking about jammy Dodgers? No, of course not. No. Or even other drama. They just wouldn't do it. That is what makes Doctor Who so. Literally...
They get all their food out of a hatch in the wall on Star Trek. It's very undignified.
Oh, we used to do that in the 70s. The little doors would open and something would pop through. Don't know where it came from. The other side was marvelous. Yes.
We've got a quote here from Bassett's. James A. Fitzpatrick says, I think Bassett's rejection of the Candyman might have been symbolic of the state of the show at the time. Yeah. If it had been 15 years earlier, it might have been a different story. Oh, possibly. I don't know. I don't think they'd have come to that party, whatever the weather, to be absolutely fair.
I think he might have a point. I think they might have.
Cynic says the kids
Let's try it again and find out.
My grandson loves them. Fish fingers and custard is quite nice. Yeah, people latched onto that as well. And I think there's something about the childlike quality, Charlotte, to the 11th Doctor. That for all that he was this sort of dashing young man, as they say in a later episode, he has that kind of Peter Pan feel. And in many respects, I felt that Amy was sort of like his Wendy. And I think that although you could say the same of David Tennant, it was a very heroic version of the character, a striding and strident, brave hero and a survivor. I think that Matt Smith's Doctor, he had there was a romance about that take on the character that was similar, I suppose, to that which Paul McGann had brought to it. But I think he had a lot of women and some gentlemen out there positively swooning. And there seemed to be more fan art circulating around Matt Smith's time as the Doctor than at any other time, based on his look with the hair and the bow tie. That sort of, there was a way, I think, that you could turn him into a little character, like we saw on that Valentine card, and he'd be more identifiable in a sort of simpler way.
Well, I think with Tennant, you had the very traditional hero, sort of dashing, charming with his looks and the way he was written. And with Matt, it was the awkwardness. It was, like I said, the childlikeness almost and the naivety. And I almost think sometimes when it comes to females, and I can speak as one, sometimes that's more attractive to have that sort of naivety and that sort of awkwardness. Because I remember when, obviously, Amy did kiss him. I can't remember which episode it was.
Oh, that was horrible.
Right.
Well, I remember which one it was.
The angel one.
I can't remember which one, but I loved Matt's reaction because whereas Tennant was like snogging every female he could, and it was just like a thing that you'd go, oh, of course he's kissing her. Well, with Matt in that scene, his hands were everywhere, and you could see he was like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And it was such a nice change, I think, as well. People had got a bit fed up of sort of the romantic Tennant and like the difference of Matt.
Well, that
Like I
was
said-
that was the scene in the Angel one, wasn't it? The part 2 in series 5. And Moffat has since gone on record saying he shouldn't have written that scene. He regrets it now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because it was too sexual.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh,
for
well,
baby's end, it
we all
was
agree on that.
definitely.
It was. It felt all completely wrong.
Yeah,
But again,
Doctor
it
Who.
was uncomfortable.
But
Yeah.
Matt Smith was not the first ladies' man in Doctor Who history. I think this guy got it sewn up back in the 60s. Yeah, he was doing very well there. But yeah, obviously the new series I think has a different. There's a different rhythm to that, to the way it explores that side to the characters' dynamic, both the central cast and the situations that they find themselves in, how they interact with the people in the worlds or the times that they visit. Back in the classic days, Simon, the question of love and romance was rather different in a tea time adventure serial for the whole family from the 60s through to the 80s, because understandably it wasn't a priority, was it? Doctor Who's mission was to inform and to entertain. But to do so in a way, I suppose, throughout those first 2 to 3 decades, to do so in a way that was convincing, you had to build up characters and situations within those adventure stories. But the adventure story was always the driving force, wasn't it? So when we got the novelty of a couple, a little bit of romance, a couple, or just a little bit of, I suppose, headcanon, something we could latch onto, it tended to really stand out, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose so. Yeah, it did. I mean, the thing is, to me, I mean, I'm sorry, I was just chuckling there because I saw Sadako 24's comment that Tennant was like a dog in heat, and it's true.
We'll come to that in a moment.
That's one of the aspects I don't like about New Who. And the reason, what I like about Classic Who is actually that it was all a little bit awkward, as Charlotte was just saying there with Matt Smith. That's again is what makes Doctor Who, and let's be honest, all of the relationships in Doctor Who are all, well, certainly in Classic Who, are all a little bit awkward. I mean, you look at every single one of those that we're looking at on screen now, and they all feel a little bit weird. Well, in many cases, in most cases, very weird and very strange and very off kilter. And again, that to me is what Doctor Who is about, and that to me is what appeals. I've talked about this before, that I certainly, when I was growing up, I definitely knew I was not normal. I felt an outcast. I didn't feel I belonged, and so that was one of the things that attracted me to Doctor Who, was its weirdness, its off-kilterness. So I absolutely was not tuning in for the love story, for the classic, and that's where I get critical of modern Who, when it does become love orientated, whereas these relationships that we're now looking at, they just felt a bit weird and awkward, but that added then to the weird off-kilter feel of Classic Who. To me, it just added to it. It enhanced it rather than detracted from it. I
mean, is there anything more normal, Charlotte, than the idea, Delta and the Bannermen, girl meets boy one afternoon, he decides that he's going to cross species within 12 hours and run off to the stars with her. That's a reasonable thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose if you look at that campsite, maybe you hadn't seen a woman in about 20 years, and it was just like, oh, woman.
You could be onto something.
It's funny. Go on, sorry, Charlotte.
I was going to say, I see that difference a lot watching Classic now. You can tell it's very much, if it comes up, it's a rarity, and it's almost, it almost comes across to me a bit of, sometimes if they didn't know how a companion would go, they just randomly have them fall in love with somebody. Like with Susan, I've not seen Joe, so I can't really comment on that yet. But oh God, Perry and Brian Blessed, that's another one, isn't it?
It's interesting because if four of these 6 that we're looking at the moment are all central to that character leaving the series, and so you're right, Charlotte. Yes, they did often randomly. I mean, who was it that said that I don't want to be married off to somebody? I'm trying to think which actress playing which companion.
I can't remember.
Whatever you do, don't marry me off to some alien.
Nicola said that at one point. She didn't. No, I can't remember actually. No, sorry.
Yeah,
no.
I don't know, but it was. I'm right, aren't I, JT? There was somebody that said specifically, "Do not marry me off."
It might have been Liz actually, but I think there may be a couple of them. Yeah, because that was the obvious thing to do at the time.
Yeah, it certainly did happen, and they always felt very, very awkward. I mean, the Susan falling in love with David feels completely.
I suppose, to be fair, though, at least with Susan, the character was meant to be 15, 16. He was also very, very young. And so they were young adults. They were quite awkward around one another anyway. That's the only real excuse I've got for that.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. He looked twice her age, but to me, but there we go.
The Perry and King Yakarnos thing seemed to just come completely out of the blind spot, JT, to the point where even 35 years on, you still watch it back and you think, what?
Yeah, absolutely, because it doesn't work, and that's known. And yeah, I mean, what can you say?
But now they've kind of embraced it, though, haven't they? We a few weeks ago, Simon, we saw that minisode attached to the season 22 box set with Nicola Bryant back as Perry, and they really lent into that. She had spent a lifetime with him, and now was sort of how could I put this? Become part of the culture of his world and their traditions.
Yeah, but I mean, what is a particular shame about that? And I have to be honest, I can remember watching it when I was however old I was at the time that went out in '86, and I have to be honest, it didn't bother me that they suddenly announced at the end of Trial of a Time Lord that Perry had survived and married Yakarnos. I think, to be honest, secretly, I was probably quite pleased because I did like Perry, and as naff and as twee and as rubbish as it was, I think probably as an 18-year-old, I was more happy to think that she was married and happy rather than dead.
Yeah, I suppose so.
What in a way is a shame about that? What it did is it undermined, in a way, that beautiful scene that is in Mind Warp, where Yakarnos and Perry are talking about love, and she's trying to explain to him what love is, and it's beautiful. It's a lovely written scene, and it is almost as though they were that Philip Martin was writing that, knowing that Perry was going to survive and run off into the sunset.
And even Brian Blessed brings his performance right down, doesn't he? And just says, "What is love?
What is this? What is this?"
Don't forget, though, at the time they were writing and then performing it, she was dying. She was going to die because it was John that backtracked it later on, wasn't it?
That's right. But the point I'm making, JT, is that it almost feels like that was the plan, that she was going to survive. That scene feels as though they weren't. And I know you're quite right, they weren't. She was dead. She was dying at that point. So it's it feels a really odd scene. Had they killed her off, it was an odd scene for Doctor Who to have in those days. And yet it's lovely. I am a romantic, James. I absolutely am a romantic.
I like this one from Matthew Pounder. It says, Perry had a pink spandex wedding dress.
Yeah, I think so.
It's possible, isn't it? It's possible.
You see, that whole thing never sat with me because I think the Doctor would have gone back immediately together.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think I really do. I think the Sixth Doctor would, instead of just waltzing off with Mel, I think he would have said, "I've got to go back and get her, make sure she's all right."
Well,
so it never sat with me.
He certainly would have wanted to pop along to the wedding, wouldn't he? Let's be honest. He would have.
I think he would have rescued her. I don't think he would have let her anywhere near that madman.
What you're saying, JT, and it is quite right, is that he takes it very lightly, doesn't he? Oh, well, that's all right then, in effect.
Yes, it's the end of the season. Oh, I've got Bonnie Langford with me. Woohoo!
Yeah, just quite right. It does sit uncomfortably. It does, you're right.
Out of all of these, I mean, I always really liked the I won't even say the connection or the chemistry between the Doctor and Todd in Kinder, but there is something there. I think if I'd have been watching, and I think it helps that this was Davison's first season in the role, because they were kind of making it up as they went along a little about where they could go with the character, him being so much physically younger, so much more outwardly heroic, and giving Davison himself scope to do something different with the character. And maybe that stretched to the writers too, because there is something there. And every time I go back to it, I don't know if it's something that I've never heard Nerys Hughes talk about this, whether it was something the two actors infused into the performance, because there's certainly a mutual respect there. They reach obviously they've got a common goal, but they come to know one another throughout that story on an almost spiritual as well as professional level. And I now, of course, being an adult, being so much older and knowing more about how complex relationships can be and how sometimes romantic situations where two people people could be compatible can start in the most innocent of ways and often at work. I see. Okay, now I see why there's so much headcanon about the Doctor and Todd.
Well, I mean, I suppose what you sort of struck on there, Dan, is that we have to remember that Peter Davison was coming into the show having played the romantic lead in All Creatures Great and Small, from the point of view that he was the wide one, he was the romancer, he was the dater, he was always dating girls, and so Peter Davison brought that sensibility to the role, whether he liked it or not, whether it was intended or not. There's no denying that because he was so entrenched in the public psyche as the sort of romantic. Well, he wasn't romantic, was he? He was. What was he? He was a cad. He was.
He chased women. That's just he chased women.
Thank you, Charlotte. I'm trying to find a polite way.
Naughty boy.
That's what he did, and so the public knew him for that, and so maybe that sort of partially informed his first season. And I certainly remember it being talked about a lot at the time that Todd was kind of being sort of touted almost as though she should have been a companion. And do you remember this, JT? Everybody was saying that they just wanted the Doctor to kiss Todd at the end of Kinder.
I remember that, but I don't like it because I don't agree with it. I think it has no place in Doctor Who at all. But what I got from Kinder at the time was thinking she wants to go with you. She wants to go on an adventure, and I was quite sad. Yeah, and then I suddenly realised, well, there's 400 million of them in that box anyway. But I think the beauty of that relationship is that it's only there towards the end, and I think it's part of the thing. They've just been through this massive psychological trauma thing. Yeah. They've shared this adventure. She is his companion for that story. When you think about it, in a modern day thing, for the reboot Who, the modern day equivalent of that would have been somebody like, I don't know, Christina in the Planet of the Dead, or something like that, or the one that came after it with Waters of Mars, where they had those singles. She's his companion for that one, and there is that connection, and they're looking out for each other, and it's beautifully performed by Peter and Nerys. And what comes through at the end of that really is this thing where actually we've just been through hell together, and you're going now, but I would quite like to go with you. That's what I got from that.
Well, also the other thing I think, JT, that follows on from that really is that, let's be honest, at that point in time on the show, the relationship between the Doctor and his companions was at best prickly. And so to have, and don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining.
No, you're right.
I'll complain.
I didn't bother me. It didn't worry me, I must be honest. But the point being that his relationship with Nerys, with Todd, was very
different.
Yeah, so for the Doctor, it's probably a blessed relief. It's probably, oh, thank God, I can finally.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we all know that Peter didn't really like the Tegan character because she was always moaning and going off on one, and bickering, hyperbombing. And then you had Nyssa, who was his favourite companion because she was scientific, she was more mature, she was a bit calmer, she was astute, she would be logical. There was Adric, who was just Adric. I think you're right. It's suddenly called his Todd, who's older, more mature, a scientist on his level, unequal back in the 80s. Here's a very strong female character, Chris. All these wonderful things that comes through here. So for Peter's Doctor, it must have been a real sort of breath of fresh air, because as we said before, John Nathan Turner years later, Spacebook, has said that he actually regretted all that sort of bickering in the TARDIS, and he went too far with it. Because if you look at it, it goes right into Collins' era.
Yes.
I'm more like, I would have liked him to have come around and said, right, you lot are staying here. I'm just popping off for a little while there. I'll be back in 10 minutes. And they go and have lovely adventures. Oh, don't! I'm giving Bog Fanish ideas. Stop it.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw that Nerys Hughes was back, sorry, Charlotte. When I saw that Nerys Hughes was joining Big Finish, and they were putting her with Tom Baker, I thought, oh, what a missed opportunity. I'd love to hear her with Peter Davison again, Todd and the Fifth Doctor together. I don't care how they would meet again, but the idea that they could meet again and that could be picked up, not necessarily romantically, but that precise dynamic, I think that could be interesting. Sorry, Charlotte, what were you saying?
Absolutely.
I was just going to say, though, for all of what we said about Classic, I think they almost had it something with Ian and Barbara, because if you watch their interactions and you see them gradually sort of get closer just because of the adventures and how crazy I think some of the first adventures they had in that season was. And I think there's lots of fun little scenes where I watch it, and maybe because it's my sensibilities watching it now, I don't know. But I almost, what did I watch recently? I watched The Romans recently.
Oh yeah.
And the ending,
That's an interesting.
I was like, oh, that's. Are they not almost teasing each other? And it almost came across to me as like, that's. I don't know.
There's
Maybe
a
I'm
hint
reading too
in
much
that
into
story.
it.
There's a hint in that story that they spend an extended period of time living in Rome,
Yes, they do,
living
yeah.
in that community, even a day-to-day life, JT. And you know, there's been discussion amongst fans for several years that they became lovers in that story. Which, and watching it back now as an adult, I completely see why people have read that in. It's not an unreasonable thing to assume. That two healthy young people living a lifestyle like that, detached and waiting on their friends, very at ease with one another. There was always chemistry between them in a kind of chaste way. I can see those, what little boundaries there were between them, embarking on a relationship like that, absolutely falling by the wayside during that extended time in the villa.
You see, I really can't, because I'm not that sort of fan, and I'm not interested in that nonsense.
I didn't think I was.
But I'm not, because I can't see what's wrong with just having friends. And why shouldn't a male and a female be friends? Especially when you're traveling through time and space, you're being harassed by baddies every 10 minutes. You're going through life. You're going through.
And JT, I would never see Jamie and Zoe like that, for example.
Well, no, but I think it's also a problem with today. And we've got all this going on with the latest version has ended, by the way. It's nonsense. Why do people have to look at these things? Doctor Who is not a soap opera. It's a science fiction family drama. Let it be. And keep all your modern day nonsense out of it as well. Just keep it out of it and let just have the adventure. I mean, what's wrong with that?
It's understandable, though, isn't it, that people, when you like a character or a set of characters, it's natural that you latch onto them. And I think in some respects, and Russell T Davies said this, and I agree with him, he talks about how in between adventures you wonder if the families of the people that he took away with him would try and find them, wonder where they are, report them as a missing person, all that. And by the same measure, I think it's perfectly reasonable for a fan to imagine connections between people, between adventures, what life would be like either on the TARDIS or.
Well, I think the way I look at it is I think as long as it doesn't interfere with the story, I don't have a problem. Because, and this is where, as I say, I do criticise this aspect of New Who, in that, to me, it does get in the way of the story. I thought that it got in the way of the story of the girl in the fireplace. I thought that could be a really interesting story, but it felt way too soapy for me. It was that was actually uncomfortable watching. It was like watching your grandparents snog or something. It just I found that really quite uncomfortable to watch. Whereas if it's done in a subtle way, so that if you so choose, you yourself can create in your mind and think, oh, okay, maybe they got together. I think that's okay. As I say, for me,
that's different.
It's harmless, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the difference between headcanon and fan wank. Fan wank is when something is published in a tie-in novel, and it's as much gratification for the person who's written it and published it to get it out there. Whereas headcanon, it's a really, really personal thing.
Yeah, completely. And as I say, Kinder with Todd is kind of the classic example. To go back to that again, absolutely nothing is said about it at all within the context of the show. No indication is given whatsoever. But if you so and so again, as however old I was at the time that I was watching that, it went missed it all. I wasn't, and even as I watch it now, it doesn't feel relevant unless I choose to think, do you know what? In another life, maybe the Doctor would have stopped on Diva Loca for a while and just spent some time with. And so I think that's fine to think about. But as I say, I do have a problem once it starts to get really, it begins to feel uncomfortable. I
agree with that. But what I would like to see in the next version of Doctor Who, the Bad Wolf era of Doctor Who, is all that out of the window. Please bring back the adventures and the science fiction adventure, and keep all the modern day.
Right back, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the Doctor is an alien. He's from the planet Gallifrey. He's 1,000 years old. He's an alien. And that's the thing. He doesn't have these human attributes. All he wants to do is run around the galaxy, getting into trouble through time and space and fighting the Daleks. He loves all that.
And you know
nonsense,
what, JT? I think when it came back in 2005 as well, it did have that. It did have that pace to it, whereby even though characters like Jackie would sort of say, "Oh, you took my daughter away. How old are you? 40, 45? Stitch this much," and she slaps him because she assumes that something sexual may have either gone on or been his motivation. But it's never. By that point, we were 4 or 5 episodes in. I by that time I was an adult. Watching that, with an adult sensibilities, never even crossed my mind that anybody would even think that, because the show was so relentlessly enjoyable and the adventure was so sweeping.
Yeah, but a lot of that, I think, was done because during the interim years, in the wilderness years, people like Russell and Stephen Moffat would have been around with the conversations. And we did start to have, as fans, conversations about, oh, well, in the real world, somebody would notice somebody had gone missing and there would be all this. And they've bled these sort of things through. But there came a point where it became too much of a soap opera. I mean, it is a soap opera today. I mean, that's where it's got to. That's why it's failed, because it is a soap opera. Get rid of all those human elements. Give the Doctor his alien quality back, and just travel through time and space with a human companion and have fun and have danger and keep all the modern day labeling and all this stuff out of it.
Problem being is watching on YouTube and says Ian and Barbara were definitely getting it on.
and this is, I really do think with the Ian and Barbara relationship in particular, I just think is a joy to watch, because I think that they absolutely ended up married without.
Yeah, that's why.
Well, it was mentioned in Sarah Jane, wasn't it, that they did, Charlotte?
Well, but the thing is, and I'm with Simon, I think the Ian and Barbara thing, it's not like one of those when you hear it, you go, "Oh God, where have you got that from?" Yeah. If you actually watch Ian and Barbara, I think you can see the steps and the start of it, and then so if you hear it later on, you go, "Yeah,
they're closer because on every level they're closer because of that time they spent with the Doctor." Because back in their real life, back in their real lives, presumably they'd have carried on working together for a few years, and then one of them might have moved on to another school or whatever, and maybe they'd have been the one that got away or whatever.
But they just felt so natural together, and I don't know whether it was ever intended on the part of Verity Lambert when they were casting. They kind of. It doesn't matter again because it's so subtly done. You can choose to ignore it. If you don't want to look at it, you just ignore it. They're just companions of the Doctor. Brilliant. Absolutely. But if you want to, and I do, I like to look at certainly that final scene in the chase. I kind of think that's just joy. It's like, they are definitely. They're off down the registry office on Monday morning.
I never got that. I'm going to challenge Melina's comment there as well. I'd just like to point out, she says there, obviously, I just like how it creates layers for the Doctor as a character. No, it doesn't. The Doctor is an alien. His layers are totally different to us as human beings. We can't equate with that. Colin had it right. Colin Baker knew what he was doing when it came to that.
What was Colin's feeling behind it? Do you remember anything that he actively said about that? Because I can't.
Well, yeah, absolutely. He would say that the Doctor is a Time Lord. He's from the planet Gallifrey, and he's going to play it like that. Tom had it as well, with all that complete alienness, totally different,
total benevolence.
Yes. Not looking at people around him. But Colin said something beautiful, like he wanted his Doctor to retain that alienness again, where one minute he could be stepping over a human dead body, and the next second he'll see a dead butterfly and cry. Because his human relation, his emotions are different to a human being. That's what we've got to bring back, because all this nonsense about the Doctor having all these feelings, that's not alien, it's human, and the Doctor's an alien.
I'm looking at Melina's comment, and yet she does say, well, it looks like she's the only one who enjoys Doctor Who romance.
I'm sure you're not, Melina.
No,
there's a load of new ones that have come in, haven't they?
I was saying this to Simon the other day. I view the Doctor as a romantic hero. I sincerely do. I don't view the Doctor as a sexual being. I think a sex life and sexual activity and romance are not the same thing. When I think of romance, I think of those kind of buttoned-up heroes of Jane Austen novels.
Correct.
The strong figure of the man who's slightly distant from it. I'm thinking of Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music. That guy barely cracks a smile, let alone pinches Julie Andrews' arse.
Yes, I love him. I think he's fabulous.
He never moves up the gears on that woman in that film at all. But he is viewed as this massive romantic figure because of that stoicism and because of that silhouette. And I think that partly, I don't think that was always part of Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong. I think Pertwee channeled that a little. I think that
Really? Do
Tom
you?
Baker may, for some people out there watching, may have had some of that in a
No,
latent
disagree.
degree. But of course, where it did come to the forefront, was the the manifestation of the Eighth Doctor, the Byron-esque, as they always say, Eighth Doctor, as played by Paul McGann. Absolutely, the dashing romantic hero of the Bronte novels, with his curly wavy hair, his cravat, and his crushed velvet. Simon, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is exactly what I was going to say. To me, the Doctor is a romantic hero, but that's a very different thing to a sexual character. He is a romantic hero in the Byronic sense, and that to me, and a Byronic hero, a Byronic romantic hero, is not even about love and sex or anything. It's just, it's a very different beast. And so that to me is what the Doctor is when we say the Doctor is a romantic hero. Matthew Pounder quite correctly points out, "You're a very beautiful woman." Probably.
One of the best lines in Doctor Who, and something, Russell, if you're watching, that's the line you need to focus on, love.
Because Matthew is quite right there. If anything, that's one of the most defining lines in Doctor Who history ever, because it tells you everything you need to know immediately. As Matthew says, the Doctor doesn't know whether she's beautiful or not, because he doesn't see things like that. And being brutally honest, I don't watch Doctor Who for romance. If I want to watch romance, I'll watch Brief Encounter.
I don't think any of us watch Doctor Who for anything that reminds us about modern day society or the world as it is. Anyway, I think if you want that, go and watch a bloody soap opera. For Doctor Who, we want to be taken to wondrous worlds and fantasies, and we want to battle with lasers and fight with laser swords. We don't want to be reminded of what it was like Monday to Friday. We want escapism, and that's the whole thing about Doctor Who.
I mean, do we think they got it right with the TV movie, or do we think they went too far? My feeling is they went a bit too far. Well,
they had to, because they had American money, and they wanted to have that. They had to have that element to make it acceptable to the American audience. We know that. It's been written, it's documented. That's why he kisses her twice in the show, because they had to have that, because apparently the American audience cannot accept a male and female platonic relationship.
I don't think it was just the American audience either. I think that the British audience wouldn't have demanded that, but I think the show, and if Ian Diaz was here, he'd certainly say something along these lines. I think the series did need to redefine itself.
Not to that extent. The British public knew the Doctor.
It needed to reframe itself and to reframe what that hero could be to the people around him, and to be confident that they could expand the remit of the show and develop a character who, Tom Baker would always say that the Doctor can't develop, and he's right in most respects. But you can sort of play with crossing these lines and pushing out the walls of these boundaries. Charlotte, when you look at the
why
TV
bother,
movie,
Dan? Why bother doing that? You've got an established British legend.
I think it depends.
Who everybody knows is asexual and not interested in his female companion. He's famous for that.
I think it depends on where you intend on taking it.
And that's the problem. They've taken it down the soap opera route.
Because I think in reality, where it should always end up logically, because there's a cycle of new viewers coming in 5 years at the most, it should always really end up back where you left it. And this, like every other toy in the box, should be put back in its place. But I wanted to ask Charlotte in particular about this, because back in '96 when the TV movie came out, believe it or not, I think we talked about this a little bit last year when we reviewed the TV movie, but fandom absolutely lost its shit over these kisses. Does that surprise you?
No, because like I said, I watching classic now, I could understand that romance would have been such a new sort of idea in the show, and I think you can have romance from the side characters, and that's how classic would do it. It would be the companions, it would be the bit part players. It was never the Doctor. So to actually have the Doctor, because the first kiss, I think you could play off as non-romantic. That's the way I've always seen it.
You could just about get away with the first kiss.
It's him sort of, I'm in a new body, I'm excited, I've got these new feelings and emotions. That's why I love the scene when he looks up and he's excited to see the stars, and I think that's the Doctor. Just loving
that's romance.
seeing.
That's very romantic.
Yeah, that's romance.
That's romantic.
And so I think the first one you can get away with, but the second one is definitely the Doctor's initiated it. So I can understand why it was such a stark thing to do, and but then I think Russell very much took that, and I
Yes.
sort of, my thing was, because obviously I came on with Russell's run, so I sort of came on with romance a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it for the first time, Chris's first series, and then David. And I didn't really, it wasn't what interested me per se, because I just loved the concept of the Doctor and the adventure idea. But I can understand what Russell was trying to do, because I think, honestly, he was trying to say, like, if a normal person who's a part of a normal day life would meet the Doctor, you would just be sort of swept up.
You'd be
and that's what
attracted,
Russell was
and
doing.
maybe I think you'd be attracted, and maybe in a way that you. I think initially maybe it would be simply black or white. Do I want to spend time with this person? Do I want to walk through that door and go on that adventure or not? But I think, people are attracted to situations and people in different ways, and it's entirely possible that out of all the people the Doctor's travelled with, that it's perfectly reasonable, particularly when the Doctor looks more physically appealing or closer to the age of the person that they're with. It's not unreasonable at all that, okay, not from the Doctor's point of view, but from
that's
the
what I'm
companion's
saying.
point of view, that they would latch on in the way that you describe. And boy, did that happen in the new series of Doctor Who. I mean, we had those kisses in the TV movie, but it did open the floodgates, didn't it, JT, for the new series of Doctor Who? Because although series 1 in 2005 was quite chaste, that didn't last long. And within no time, everybody was kissing everybody else, JT.
And that's where the series started to go into soap opera territory, and for me that just was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what the companions should be attracted to, and in proper Doctor Who, they were attracted to the danger. Humans like danger. We like tipping our foot. Do you know when you go to the edge of a cliff face or something, you've got a mate there, and you go, as if you're going to throw them. That's that thrill. That thrill. Now the Doctor is that cliff face. It really is, and he's the danger. So when a human suddenly finds themselves embroiled with all this incredible stuff that happens day to day for the Doctor, and he's very au fait with it, there's that thrill, and that's what they should be attracted in. The fact that you can go through time and space and have these adventures, that should be what they're attracted to, not the body, not the. I can't stand that soap opera. And those pictures that you've got there, I think Russell's big mistake. I understand why he did it for 2005 series. He wanted to bring it back, and that's why he grounded a lot of it. And they didn't want to go too far off planets.
I think he was testing the show as well.
He wanted to bring a general audience
in a similar way that Philip and Matthew were in '96. I think Russell, although he knew the show and the character much, much better, I think he was testing the audience and testing the format.
Well, it's because they were worried. They didn't want to alienate them. They suddenly didn't want to go to a blue planet with pink skies, because they thought, that might be too much for the audience. Yeah. As it happened, they suddenly realized, no, it's not. The audience they were craving. The feedback was, when you're going to go to an alien planet, when you're going to go to an alien planet. So they had to bring that in very, very quickly. But then when Moffat came in, of course, he ran with it completely, and it just got out of hand. And then we ended up where Chibnall's gone to now, where the Doctor is a possible lesbian. It's just utter nonsense. Keep the soap out of Doctor Who.
Yeah, and it does seem odd because it's like people are losing track of why people watched Doctor Who in the first place.
Absolutely.
And as I've said before, it was definitely not for the love interest. The thing is, to me, the show is a romantic show, but that's a very different thing to being about a romance. You can be romantic, and romances are two entirely different things. And I think the show is romantic, but it's not about romance, about love in that respect. And so anything that comes from that is definitely a secondary thing. It's
like your swashbuckling things, isn't it? Like your Zorro and stuff like that. Those romantic heroes, that sort of stuff. That's how it fits into.
Problem being here, our friend Lee mentions that. I think this is a really interesting point too. I think all the obsession with kissing and romance makes Doctor Who far too immature. It's all giggly and dumb. Yeah. I mean, I do see what he means. I mean, that is generally how human beings express attraction and even affection. Even the simplest affection, you will kiss a friend on the cheek, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe people would resist. It's a little more difficult in this day and age. What do I do? Which of those etiquettes is all right? But generally speaking, I think you kiss somebody on the cheek or whatever, or kiss the air. The French kiss, both the air, both sides. There's that generally, but within it's a dramatic shorthand as well, and it may be dished out a little too readily without thinking, or as a shock tactic to jolt the interest of people.
That's why it's a soap opera, Dan. That's exactly why it's a soap opera.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think.
Oh, I do. It's a soap opera.
I think it's superficial, and I don't necessarily think those are the same thing. I think
this is one of the reasons that the audience have left it. Yeah, the audience has left it in its millions, as we know, and part of the reason is they want proper different science fiction drama. They don't want all this stuff they've been giving them over the last 3-4 years, and that's where I'm saying, please, to Bad Wolf, keep Russell under control and just bring back proper Doctor Who, where we can just get away from the modern world, because it's a horrible world right now, in my opinion. It's exhausting and it's pathetic, and there's, it's dangerous. So let's just have some fantasy and escapism, please.
Yeah, I think the problem Russell did was he obviously had the Rose thing, and the way I explain Rose a bit is he was recovering from the Time War. I think you have to factor that in when it comes to 9 and 10 and Rose. He was hurting, he was alone, he wasn't sure of himself, and Rose was him rediscovering a bit. And that's why that romance hurt so much. But then the problem was, in the same breath he was doing all the romantic stuff, he wanted to almost keep reminding the viewers that, no, this is not going to end well. Like that scene in School Reunion when she's jealous and the Doctor basically sets her straight and says, "You're gonna die. I'm old. I'm gonna outlive you." Yeah. And that whole speech about it, which is beautiful, but you can't have that speech and then carry on with your romance. I think Russell really
it's chilling as well, isn't it, Charlotte? It's a really chilling scene.
Oh yeah, because it's true, and it's Russell being very because I think that's what you're talking to. That's Russell.
I think it cuts the situation dead. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, I think it's exactly what you're saying, JT.
I'm going to challenge the two of you. I understand what you're saying about that, but I thought it was played incorrectly. I think Tennant went too much for the dewy-eyed, doughy, soppy nonsense, and it should have been basically harder. It should have been the Time Lord turning round to the Earthlings saying, "Knock it off. You die. I don't. Get over it." And it should have been played much harder.
I read it as him playing it like that.
I thought he was too soppy. I keep thinking, how would Tom have delivered that line, or even Eccleston? And it would have been completely alien to go as if I'm going to look at you in any primitive way.
I wanted to pick up this comment for a moment. We've got from Crimpling Doubloon, and says, to the new audiences, wasn't the Ninth Doctor a father substitute for Rose? But then at the end, he kisses her. Now, I can see exactly what Crimpling Doubloon means by that. Strangely, I've never seen the Ninth Doctor as a substitute father figure, and I'm thinking why. And it could have been, I saw him as, I think I saw the Ninth Doctor and Rose in some ways as being similar to Billy Piper and Chris Evans. I saw her taking up with this older man, not necessarily being a sexual thing, but I thought he was more a person who fascinated her. I know there was a gap in her life where she missed her father and it was all unresolved, but I never viewed the Doctor as the substitute father figure there. I don't know why that. I think there was something more between the two of them, as I think that they related to one another on similar levels, because he had a gap in his life as well. He was trying to fill a void, and in many respects, so was she. But maybe I'm alone in that. Had other people received it the way that Crimpling had? Simon?
No.
I must be honest. But maybe, being brutally honest, part of that is probably because I'm choosing to ignore it, because I just find, I agree with JT. I just find the whole love thing in New Who just so tedious, because it undermines the character of the Doctor for me. It makes the Doctor boring because it makes the Doctor human, and that's exactly why I don't watch Doctor Who. That's exactly the reason why that I don't want to see Doctor Who. I want Doctor Who to be about an alien who doesn't react in the way that you and I would react, because that's what makes it interesting and different and takes me out of the here and now. And so to make the Doctor dull and human is just,
it's also it also goes back to the point before. It actually limits the Doctor.
Yes,
because it means you can't have an
yeah.
actor of a certain age. I mean, look at the brouhaha from a certain element of the new generation of fans that came in when Capaldi was cast. So for the likes of us, Simon, Capaldi's casting was brilliant. It was wonderful. Here we had a fantastic actor who knew the Doctor and who was able to create a character. And yet there's a small minority going, oh, he's too old because he won't be able to kiss his companion. Oh, go away. That's not what it's about. You know,
and
it's
we
shocking.
absolutely did hear that, and you're right. That was a byproduct of that,
of the soap opera,
that element.
And it means you can't have an older. Well, it does actually in today's society. Sadly, you cannot now have an actor of my age in the role because of all this nonsense that's gone on and what they've created. That's why I'm hoping that the next version comes along and it's an utter reboot.
And also, JT, that person has to be a pin-up good-looking person as well. You know,
it's so fickle, aren't we, Simon, in society now? That's the problem. It really is. It's pandering to millennials and belows who are just like, well, actually quite fickle, I'm afraid. Controversial.
This conversation has certainly set the chat alight. I know it's
excellent.
A topic
what are they talking about?
I don't know if it's a divisive topic or not, but I think it's one that's quite subjective. And
I think
that people feel strongly about, Simon.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think. Well, I hope it isn't divisive. It certainly shouldn't be divisive. This one really, to me, is absolutely a matter of opinion on your part, whether you kind of like this and buy into it, or whether you. And I'm guessing that most classic era fans are probably going to be the ones that don't buy into it so much, and the new era fans are going to be the ones that do buy into it. And maybe that's how it should be.
Well, let's see what the next generation of Doctor Who does, because, you know, I don't think, even though I'm hearing that they are going to call it Series 14, I don't think it can continue the way it has been doing because it's tired. It's 13, 14, 15 years old. It's a tired show. It's lost its part of its fan base, a huge part of its fan base. It's lost the British public. It's not making any money. They can't continue doing the same thing. They have to do something different. That's what I'm finding very interesting to see. What is it going to look like? I think they might even just turn it all on its head, and I pray to God that's what they'll do.
Sadako24 says romantic interest can be a sign of maturity. They're watching on YouTube too. But Lord Thoth says, I just don't want 50 Shades of Who in my sci-fi or my fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with it with your Star Trek type things because you're dealing with a human story there. In Star Wars, you can get they are humans or related from humans, but the Doctor's a Time Lord. He's a Gallifreyan. He's a different species completely. So leave it to the human elements. I agree with that, Simon, but not with him.
Chat says exactly that, JT. Guys, look at Star Trek. Do you really want that? And no, that's why I don't watch Star Trek. I'm not interested in it.
No, I'm the same. I lost Star Trek ages ago. I couldn't get my head around what they were doing with it.
On that note, here's a reminder that if you've enjoyed our discussion about this topic, I know we've got quite deep into it, actually, but there's so much to say about this topic, as there always is with everything surrounding Doctor Who, really. And it deepens, it rolls, it evolves, as we all do. It's always fun to talk about these things, no matter where we sit on it, how we feel about it. And I reserve the right to revise my opinions at any point in the future or the past. But in the immediate future, all you have to bother about changing is the water in your drinking receptacle, or maybe whatever's going to leave your bladder over the next couple of minutes, because, yes, it's that time for the Type 40 Doctor Who ad break coming up. A couple of minutes of concentrated commercialization, courtesy of the Time Vortex with us. And there is a theme to this ad break too. I'd like you to think about it. Watch these adverts and have a think about what you believe the connection could be between the people who feature in this ad break. So we're going to show you, there's going to be a few ads containing people who have featured in Doctor Who. But what could possibly unite them, apart from the fact that they've all been in Doctor Who? Check out the ads. Go and fill yourself up with a drink and take the device that you're watching us on with. Whatever you need to do, go and do it. Check out these adverts and have a think about what could possibly connect all of these people. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Hey, yo, man! What's going down, Robinson? It's an even bigger Euro Millions jackpot this Friday, and I want to make sure I get my entry in. Stand back. Yeah. Good luck, man.
This Friday's Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated £14 million.
Nothing beats that special Nescafe blend and roast to get you started in the morning.
Make me a cup too, Gareth.
Certainly are.
The first taste tells. The first taste tells. The first taste tells you it's every bit as good as it looks. And it's the same as new Stork SB margarine.
This is nice. What's on it?
New Stork SB.
You see, Stork SB is now even better, with a smooth new look and a delicious new taste. So the first time you taste it, you'll say,
New Stork SB.
fancy calling new Stork SB margarine.
Do you think it's all right to leave George there on his own? Oh, yes. But aren't you afraid he might find your chocolate orange? No, I think it's quite safe.
Terry's famous chocolate orange. Smooth milk chocolate with real oil of orange. How safe is yours?
Was that JT clip?
Yeah. It's all that talk
So-
of romance.
Has it made you somewhat bilious, my friend? Welcome back to Type 40 Live here on the Spacebook channel with Charlotte, Simon, JT, and myself. I hope you enjoyed those adverts, all with a Doctor Who connection. We're going to head over into the chat and see what people have got to say about all the people who were in that. See if anybody.
What does James A. Fitzpatrick mean? Best part of the show, you cheeky so-and-so, you cheeky Spacebooker, you.
All that effort, all that conversation. I don't know. Okay, so there we are. Oh, ad break connection. Darren Zone says comedy actors who have all featured in Who. I think they've probably all done comedy. Yeah, I don't know. Paul Murray, people are recognising them, realising who they are. But do you realise how they are connected? It could be a tough one. I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's see who they are. Yeah, we're looking at Roger Lloyd Pack, the fantastic actor. I'd say he's most known for comedy roles, particularly Trigger in Fools and Horses, and
Trigger
Owen in The Vicar of Dibley, but his roles were many and plentiful in straight and comedic roles. There's Gareth Hunt there. He was in the Planet of the Spiders, but most famous, I suppose, for the New Avengers, but appeared in so many of those coffee commercials. And there's Michael Keating, who he was in Blake 7, wasn't he? All 4 seasons. The only actor to appear in every episode of Blake 7, where he played the thief Villa. And then we've got John Ringham, the wonderful actor John Ringham, who was in The Aztecs, and he was in Colony in Space, wasn't he, Simon? But there
Yes.
he was chasing down the chocolate orange there in that iconic advert from the 80s. I love that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Melina Vader has commented from another country. I have no idea what I just watched. What is a chocolate orange? You have no idea.
You've never
Oh.
lived, Melina. You've never
Melina.
lived.
So what are you missing, Melina?
It's an orange that's chocolate.
I'll
Yeah.
send you a message later on. I'll send you a link. You can probably order some to Puerto Rico.
Tap and unwrap. Tap and
Yeah.
unwrap.
Orange
Okay.
Vader.
We have no takers, everybody. We have no takers. But Simon, do you want to enlighten people about what the connection is between all of those people? It's a good
Okay.
segue.
People indeed. They've all got a birthday this week. It's happy birthday to all of those people this week.
They have. Yes, so Michael Keating, he's still very much with us, celebrated his 75th birthday today. But all of those actors there, they also would have celebrated their birthdays this very week too. But that does lead us very nicely into a round of nostalgia as we open the Doctor Who diary with the delightful Simon Horton. Yay!
It's definitely done. It's like we don't just throw this show together, do we, Dan? We don't.
Absolutely not, despite what they say. Okay, what we got first? What have you got for me?
As always, 23 new episodes on the time scanner this week. Three new episodes today. You could have been watching in 1968 The Web of Fear Part 2, Carnival of Monsters Part 3 in 73, and The Armageddon Factor Part 5 in 1979. But this week we're talking about 38 years since Resurrection of the Daleks Part 1.
38 years. Don't say that, for crying out loud.
JT.
Oh, terrible.
38 years. This, of course, was Eric Sayward's third script. And apparently in preparation for this, apparently Eric Sayward watched all of the previous Dalek serials and described it as never-ending torture. This particular story, of course, this story should have closed season 20. It was going to be the big finale for season 20.
Oh yeah.
Due to industrial action, would have been called at the time. It would have been called what I think would have been a much better title: The Return, or better still, Warhead. I always think Warhead.
Yeah, I love Warhead.
There was another one as well, wasn't there? Sentinel.
Sentinel, you're right.
I loved that title. We were robbed of that
title.
Like
Much
that
better
too.
than Resurrection of the Daleks. Don't know why they went for it. Sayward himself has criticised it since. He said he thought it was too frantic, too many ideas. I would totally agree, Eric. Absolutely. But nonetheless, it's a cracking romp. And this, of course, went out in the midst of the 1984 Winter Olympics, which is why we got two episodes jammed together. Parts 1 and 2 were stuck together into a 45-minute episode, and then parts 3 and 4 the following week. And they were billed as special episodes. There was a trailer went out after Frontiers. I remember being very excited. I don't know about you, JT. Do you remember this? When they did the trailer at the end of Frontiers, and, this big thing about special double-length episode next week. Do you remember that?
I remember it very, very well because I was like, "Oh my god, is it on the DVD for Frontiers?" Let's hope it's on the Series 21 box set as well.
Must be on there somewhere.
Lovely.
What's interesting, of course, about Resurrection is it features a small part by Leslie Grantham as Kiston, who 1 year later would go on to enormous fame as Dirty Den in EastEnders. They asked Michael Wisher back to play Davros, and unfortunately he was unavailable yet again, which is why Terry Malloy comes in.
I didn't realise they'd asked him back.
Yeah,
I see why though.
Sadly unavailable yet again. But a new mask, of course, was created for Davros for no apparently good reason. I never quite understand why they reinvented it so much. And apparently the mask caused some degree of hilarity on set because it became known as Ina Sharples. Davros was known as Ina Sharples. Because of the mask.
Oh, I love that's my favourite Davros, and now whenever I look at it, I'm going to see Ina Sharples.
I'm sorry. Interestingly, Rodney Bewes only took his role as Stein due to the money, because James Bolam at the time was refusing to allow the Likely lads to be repeated, and so poor Rodney Bewes was desperate for the money, and so that's why he agreed to do it. And other casting, interesting casting things here that you could have had. All these people were also considered for parts, so you could have ended up in an alternative sliding doors reality. You could have ended up with Lytton played by Stephen Burkoff, Dr. Style by Joanna Lumley, and the part of the Trooper was going to be played by Jim Broadbent. I mean,
I thought you were going to say Jim Davidson then. With the stunt casting that was going on at the time, JT. I wouldn't put it past him.
but my favourite little fact about this is that this story has become sort of linked with modern day Who, because Russell T Davies sort of claimed that the Dalek Supreme's intention to assassinate the Time Lord High Council was the first act of the Time War, of the Great Time War. So, and I can see that kind of works for me. So, and then of course this was the one that was picked up for the Ollie Alexander series, wasn't it? And they did the little.
Oh yeah, definitely influenced it. Yeah.
creation.
I've always loved that story. I know Alex Storer is a big, our friend, the Light Dreams man, the fantastic composer and artist Alex Storer. He loves Resurrection of the Daleks. He keeps saying, can he come on and talk about it? So I think we'll have to do a review.
I think the thing is for me with Resurrection, that Eric Sayward is completely right. There's far too much going on in it. It's far too messy. Just a mess. but somehow it's so much fun. It rollicks along. There's no chance to be boring. It is spectacular. It's a real action-packed Doctor Who story, and so you've got to love it for that alone, and forget the fact that it just doesn't hang together. It doesn't make sense.
Well, you see, for me, I don't get any of that because I still remember the thrill of the Daleks are back after 5 years of not being. See, this is where the modern fans won't get it because the Daleks have to be in the show every year the show's on the air because that's the contractual obligation to the nation estate. But back in our day, of course, they were only wheeled out every now and then, especially under John because he didn't like the Daleks and he thought they'd been overused. So this was the first time they'd been seen in 5 years. It was the first time Davison and Last was going to meet with them. I just remember that thrill, after, especially at that trailer. Just go, the Daleks about. Oh my God! Oh, it's Stavros. You know, fabulous.
Get a load of this, everybody. I always joke, JT, that you've got pissed with them all. But have you ever been shopping with Rula Lenska, like Problem Being has? He bumped into Rula in his local Safeways in Wimbledon as a child, and she was absolutely lovely. It's great.
I've heard she's a lovely lady, Lee. Yeah, I've heard that.
Quite intimidating. I don't think I'll be brave enough to say hello to her.
What else have we got?
Oh yeah, moving on. Sorry, 2 years, too long years since Can You Hear Me? Oh my God!
Oh God, that scene.
Sorry, what was that called? I didn't miss it. What's it called?
Can You Hear Me? Do you know what, JT? I can't even remember anything about this one. All I know is it's called Can You Hear Me? It was apparently written. I am reliably informed it was written. Apparently by Charlene James and our beloved friend Chris Chibnall. It was episode 7 of series 12. Do you want to know any more?
Not really.
No. I saw you.
Very first story. It might be the last story actually to have a question mark in its title. That's probably the most interesting thing I can tell you about it.
It is.
And it was heavily criticised, as you're seeing there, because of the backlash over the Doctor's complete dismissal of Graham.
Forget Mary Whitehouse, guys. This was the most complaints that the BBC has ever received about a screened episode.
I've heard about that. Yeah, she just dismisses him or something.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
That picture reminds me, for some reason, of the Tomorrow People. Isn't that weird?
Oh, you're right, JT. It's got a look. It has got a look.
I mean, that cheap look.
Charlotte, if there's ever an episode of Doctor Who that's guaranteed to sort of bring your dinner back, it's probably this one, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, because the thing is, if it wasn't for that scene, it would be a really forgettable episode, but it was just such a bad idea and writing and acting. It was like every part of the scene was horrible.
Yeah, what were they thinking, Charlotte?
And it's like, I've always said this. The excuse they wheeled out was, we were trying to say how sometimes you don't know what to say to somebody and it can be hard. And I was like, okay, geniuses, if you're trying to do that, just have her hug him.
Yeah.
Just have her physically do something if she can't say the words.
Just his hands, just hold his hand.
Yeah, hold the hand, give a hug, do anything.
Yeah, but Charlotte, what you're relying on there is having a good actress in the role of the Doctor there to actually pull something like that off. And I'm sorry, but Jodie.
But do you know? Yet again, soap opera territory that belongs to them, not Doctor Who.
You're right, and that's why, Charlotte, you're right. Apart from that, it's a completely forgettable episode, which is why I can't remember a thing about it. Now you've put that photo up, Dan. Yeah, I can vaguely remember. And let's be honest, this was 2 years ago.
Just 2 years.
Remember a thing about it.
Well, that geezer, he could detach his fingers and stick them in your ear hole. I mean, heaven knows where else he could. I know.
You're right. I've got that.
That's not supposed to be frightening or something. That's just lazy. What a load of old tosh.
Yeah, it looked considerably. It looked considerably worse. Let's move on, Simon. Let's move on.
Yeah, move on. Yeah.
Birthdays. We've already said it. There's lots of other birthdays. Clive Swift, Maurice Barry, Nabil Shaban. Gareth Thomas. They've all got birthdays this week. Also, this guy is 52 today. Robert Shearman, 52 today. Happy birthday, Robert!
Happy birthday.
To give him his full title, and of course he's most famous for being the writer of Dalek from 2005.
See Rob write some more for Doctor Who. Really
I
possibly not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I think there were issues there allegedly that we won't.
As with everything in the modern era, shocking.
Yeah, and it's a shame, but because he's acted and written and directed stuff as well. His story Dalek was based on his Big Finish story Jubilee, which Russell T Davies liked and said, "Okay, let's do it for telly." And I have to be honest, I still think that Dalek, the episode by Robert Shearman, is probably, or at least arguably, the best Dalek episode of New Who. I think it's a corker.
I totally agree, and I think the magic of that one, going back to what we were talking to before the break, is the fact that it's Rose that has the emotion there, and all you see from the Doctor is what we would expect from the Doctor is, oh, this enemy needs to be destroyed, but Rose is going blah 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 blah. That's how you do it. Give it to her.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and go on. Sorry, Dan.
Well, I understand that Rob writes a lot for the theatre now. You know, he's a very accomplished playwright and award-winning too, and I suppose at the time in one's life and career where you would expect him, you know, after working in radio and just writing, perfecting his craft. And I'm sure that I'm pretty sure he would write for Doctor Who again in one form or another. But he hasn't fixated on Doctor Who. He has grown as a writer, expanded, and worked in all these different fields in the same way that Rona Munro has.
Yeah, he's worked with Alan Ayckbourn and Francis Ford Coppola, so it's big league stuff. He's won loads of awards, so he knows his stuff. Daniel, you're right. It's Jubilee is a cracking story. The Big Finish one. You can see why Russell picked up on it. I just think that Robert Shearman has kind of been overlooked by New Who in a way. Anyway, moving on. Also having a birthday is Annette Crosby. God bless her, Annette Crosby, who will be 88 tomorrow. Annette Crosby, OBE, to give her full title. I have to be honest, I have absolutely no memory of her in Doctor Who whatsoever. I apologise, everybody, but apparently she is Mrs. Angelo in Matt's very first episode, The 11th Hour. I'm sorry, but for me, I can never disconnect.
She has a very handsome grandson in it.
Does she?
That's how I remember it.
How can I not remember that, JT?
A big beefcake, yes. Who went on to Robin Hood? Not Robin Hood. He went on to Merlin, didn't he?
Yes, and he's doing well in America. He's in the
Umbrella Academy. Well, I don't want to talk about that. Move on.
I missed all this completely. Anyway, back to Annette. she was away from the hunky sun. She was born in Midlothian in 1934. Your vague neck of the woods, JT, but I'm sure you're probably there. That's miles away.
You can see it out the loft window.
Scotland is quite a big place, but nonetheless, she's closer to you than she is to me. That's for sure.
That's true.
She began acting in her teens when she joined the Bristol Old Vic and had her first TV in the late 50s. So she's had a 60-year TV career, this woman. My God, you know, we absolutely love. Her big break, of course, came as, and I do remember this, as Catherine of Aragon in The Six Wives of Henry VIII, with, of course, Patrick Troughton, as Kelly Lynch quite rightly says there. And she won the BAFTA for that particular role.
Oh, did she? That's great.
That was the first of many BAFTAs actually that she won. She's one of these people who the list of credits is literally as long as your arm. One of the ones that I remember her from was she played the voice of she voiced Galadriel in the Ralph Bakshi version of The Lord of the Rings back in.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, I can imagine that too.
Yeah, and she's Hawk. She's in Hawk. She wasn't Hawk the Slayer. She was in.
I would watch that. I would watch the balls off that film.
She was in Hawk the Slayer, but of course, most famously, we know her for the long-suffering Margaret Meldew in One Foot in the Grave. For 10 years, she played that role.
Wow,
10 years.
She's never obviously going to be able to separate herself from that role quite rightly, and I'm sure she wouldn't want to. And she was quite rightly made an OBE in 1990.
What do you think it is? Because she's got such an expressive face and great for TV. I know she's done all that theatre work. You just warm to her, whatever role she's in, even if she's playing a frosty character, JT. It's extraordinary. She's just got that quality. Patrick McGowan had got a similar quality.
I like her in Calendar Girls, the movie.
Yeah.
That's a lovely performance there, because all she's doing is basically playing a regular woman, and it's fabulous.
Well, I think the thing is, you kind of hit the nail on the head, I think, there, JT, because this is what I think she does so well. She just she's so believable. She's just so natural and down to earth, and you believe every word that comes out of that woman's mouth in whatever role she's in. Seems to me.
Happy birthday. And there's lots of affection in the chat. Look, it's not just us. Everybody seems to feel the same way about Peter Harrington's asking, does she have a daughter in the business? An actress he knows looks very much like her. It's probable.
No idea.
I have no idea, really.
Next week, Peter. I'll see if that's a check.
Yeah.
See, we tried that one out.
What else have we got in the diary with this?
Very, very finally for today. This is a bit of an odd one. This one, 43 years ago in 1979, we could have been settling down. Here we are, JT. You remember this? 43 years ago today. Episode 4 of Series 1 of Blankety Blank, the great. With John Pertwee as a guest. I mean,
now I have seen this, but in my defence. I don't know if you're going to believe me or not, but in my defence, I watched a repeat of it on Challenge TV.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I love Blankety Blank when I was a little kid. Wonderful show, and they've just brought it back, haven't they? They've just brought it back.
Bradley,
but not spiritually. I think that Terry Wogan is the rightful king.
What's his name? Who's doing
Bradley
it?
Does it? Bradley
Walsh. I couldn't remember his name. Bradley. So it's a nice tenuous Doctor Who connection there, but it will forever be Terry Wogan's. Even when Les Dawson took over, it was not right.
Yeah, Les did it for longer, didn't he? But I think that Terry was the best.
Terry was the man.
Well, Lily brought a bit of a glamour to it as well, didn't she?
I quite like that. But it felt like an extension of her act rather than an actual game show.
I went to a recording of the Lily version, and we were there for about 4 weeks because Paul couldn't get any of it right. I was like, "Oh, let me out of this bloody stew!" Oh, anyway, there we go.
But anyway, so as I say, 43 years ago today, John Pertwee was on this show.
Wow, today, wow.
I'm wondering, I am going to throw the challenge out there. Was he the only Doctor Who actor, as in the person who played Doctor Who during Valentine? I wonder whether Peter Davison did. I kind of have a feeling he probably
I don't ever remember Peter doing it.
No,
I don't
remember
either. Doing it. But it's the kind of thing that in those celebrity days Peter would have done, because Peter was an enormous celebrity. The one person that I know who was on frequently, and that was his wife, Sandra Dickinson. And I remember Beryl Reid, of course, from Earthshock. She was on. I think we kind of need the chat here to fill us in on here. Who else can remember one of the Doctor Who stars on Blankety Blank? Because I'm drawing a bit
Bonnie. Bonnie did
Bonnie's
it pre-Doctor Who, of course.
Did she?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd love to see that episode. I have looked for the John Pertwee episode on YouTube, but it's not out there.
No, I couldn't find it either.
Let's speak to the Blu-ray guys. Hi.
You're right. My God, JT, if the Blu-ray guys are watching, it's a BBC show. Come on, you've got to put it on. But it should have been on the season 17 box set if it was 1979. It's too late.
You can stick it on. No, you can stick it on a Pertwee one.
Stick it on a Pertwee one. There we go.
There's lots
put it
of
on,
love
put
here
it on
for
series
Les
11.
Dawson. Lots of love for Les Dawson in the chat, but no, I think I love Les. He's been gone for 30 years now too. But yeah,
really, crikey.
It was and is such a simple premise, and the humour is it's not exactly highbrow, but it's a parlour game. I think that's how I describe Blankety Blank, Simon.
Partly. You're right, and look at John there. Obviously, of course, he's put Doctor Who down. He was always so proud of his Doctor Who connection. He's dressed the part, even hasn't he?
He has, hasn't he? It's just God love him.
Though we don't have a clip to show you of this. You've not seen this either, Simon?
I can't remember seeing it. I don't remember seeing it.
Would you like me to tell you what the question was?
Go for it, Dan.
Because I remember it. Like I said, I watched this about 12 years ago on cable TV. And the question that he gave the answer Doctor Who to was, I can't remember exactly how it was phrased, but it was along the lines of, I turned on the TV the other day and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that blank was still going.
Oh,
so because there was that rivalry, wasn't there, between John and Tom?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fairly obvious. I would say they wrote that question specifically for John to be able to give that answer.
Oh yeah, well they would do that, wouldn't they? Sometimes they would. I mean, Kenny, of course. Like Beryl Reid, Kenny Everett was a mainstay of the Terry era, and they left with Terry, if you remember. They didn't come back for Les. And they would do certain questions for these certain regulars. Lorraine Chase, of course, only did it with Terry. She didn't come back for Les. And they would do that because they knew they would have in the regular bookings. So they would do these little bits and pieces occasionally, which would be about a DJ or about an act or whatever, to get something for them. Yeah.
And I've just spotted in that photo up there, of course, is Brian Murphy from Mildred. Bless him. And
in his 80s, but still very much with us, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. And presumably sitting next to John is Isla Blair. I'm guessing that's
Isla St. Clair from
Isla St.
Game.
Clair. Could be Isla St. Clair. Could be days.
Happy days. I haven't caught Bradley Walsh's stint on it. Have you, Charlotte?
No, because I'm not a game show type of person. I don't really watch them.
Do they still do game shows then, apart from Blankety Blank? Are they still on telly?
They fill up the daytime schedule on like half
daytime.
of the...
Oh, they're on daytime. Yeah. I forgot about daytime telly because some of it have to work.
Without game shows, there would be nothing to show.
Get rid of daytime telly. That'll save your BBC. That'll save some money. Get rid of your daytime telly. Never mind playing around with your license. Anyway.
Absolutely. Simon, thank you for compiling all that. Loads of fun and lots of warm fuzzies, which is, particularly apt for
fuzzies.
warm fuzzies, warm fuzzy feelings.
Yeah, I like warm fuzzies.
That are just apt for a themed show around our love of Doctor Who, all things Doctor Who, and we're going to head back now, but we're going to close the diary for another show.
I'm just chuckling at James A. Fitzpatrick. You know 2 Islas. Yes, James, in Britain. There are lots of Islas.
There are several. And yes, from one warm...
I just thought of a joke, but I can't tell you.
To another. The loose theme of this show is our love and affection for all things Doctor Who. And I think... something that unites a lot of us, not all of us, but most of us, is how we display that love through the acquisition, the enjoyment, and the display of Doctor Who merchandise, JT. And you know more about that than most. So I'm going to pass this over to you because you've had your eye out, haven't you, through the window of the Doctor Who loft and your browser, searching for what's coming up, the release dates of new items that are going to be making their way to your loved ones. Maybe you'll get one of these as a Valentine's gift, or maybe it's been pre-ordered for you by someone close to you in your life. JT, what do you have for us in the merchandise roundup this time?
Well, thank you, Dan. Yes, hello, Spacebookers, and welcome to Merchandise Paradise.
You need your own little card as well.
You do.
It's coming.
Here we are with some more merchandise news for you, Spacebookers. So, let's go over, first of all, what have you got for us first, Dan? Let's talk about, you bring it up, and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, there is this first, a brand new CD, I understand.
This is a brand new CD. Obviously, you can see this is part of the range of Doctor Who audios of the Target books. So Battlefield is coming out. You can pre-order it. It's available from the 5th of May, and it's available now through the usual reputable sites. It's going to be 20 quid. And look at that. Alistair Pearson, he's redone and touched up as he does with all of it. But you can actually tell there. Isn't that gorgeous? That's the original version of the Target book, obviously, that's been put through there. So, that's coming your way on the 5th of May. So from the audiobooks.
He's given it a tune-up, and I understand he does that with all of his artworks when they're going to a new media now, when they're going from one format to another. Which I think it's he relishes the opportunity to do this. He's very like a lot of Doctor Who talent, a lot of the most talented artists in particular. He's very self-depreciating.
Absolutely. But I think what he also does is, you can see him on certain pages on Facebook, he actually has to resize them and redo them, of course, for the new format. So that's the case that he does there. But I just think it really makes it. And it's nice to see that the BBC Audio are using the original covers where possible.
It is nice.
But I'm really excited about that one. So I've said it before on the show. I'm going to say it again. I wish I'd bought into these. I wish I'd started collecting them. I was just put off at the time by the fact I knew there was going to be so many of them. I wish I had. Really wish I had now.
Is it too late to...
Yes, a lot of them are now out of print, and I don't do download. You can get them on download, but I'm with you on that one. Yeah, so that's that.
Well, you talk about ranges that are some way deep into their line. I think that this would probably be part of that criteria too, wouldn't it? What's this?
Now this is the this is really actually quite funny here, because this is part of the Robert Harrop range here, and I was going to tell you about this actually, because that troll doll you can see there from Terror of the Autons is a limited edition of 225. It retails at £40. It's sold out. It has sold out. It's gone. So if you didn't get it, it's gone. So yeah, we thought we were being nice and clever and up to the mark by bringing this into it, but it's gone. It's really, and so has the Master, and so has the Autumn figure. They have all gone there. So these things are now sold out.
I love that Autumn.
Yeah, I mean, if you're collecting these, they are obviously going to be very nice in your collection, and you'll want most of them. This was the latest one, but I hope you managed to get it.
How much were the Autons, for example, going for, JT? And the Master?
The Autumn was going for, well, the Master was £70, and the Autumn was, I think the Autumn was 75.
Wow.
I can't see it here now because I haven't got it here now. But
they're not cheap, basically.
They're not, but look at the quality of them. They are quite good. And I just hope that if you are collecting them, I hope you manage to get your hand-painted limited edition figurine there to go in your collection.
No, I really like these. I love the way that the Master is stood as well. It's very Delgado.
It is actually, yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of in the chat. You can get them on Amazon in the States for $40. There you go.
There you go.
The States have got the upper hand on that.
You never know what you could get if you shop around. But yeah, often the places that are hardest to get these things, it's in the UK. They seem to travel. We've got some more. I don't really know how I would describe this. I mean, I know what they are, but I don't know what we're supposed to do with them, JT. This is a nest of. This is a nest of. I've just realised what they look like. I've just
don't just.
You tell me what they are.
My God, it's got worse.
You tell me what they are, and then we can cleanse my mind as we go along.
Okay, well, these were originally exclusive to Australia. So our friend down there, our Spacebook and Type 40 reporter Matt might have got these, and I'd be very interested, Matt, if you did. They are now available from forbiddenplanet.co.uk, and as you can see, they are nesting dolls. So we would call them in Britain Russian dolls as well, but that's probably controversial now. We'll probably get cancelled. So really what you've got here is you've got a set of collectible Doctor Who nesting dolls, which feature your favourite original time-travelling doctors from the once hit BBC TV show in a selected 6-piece cup and must-have, as they always say. They are ranging in price from 150mm to 50mm, and they are available now from forbiddenplanet.co.uk. I don't have a price for them, and I didn't want to look. So if you want to go and have a look.
They're curious items, aren't they, Sean?
Very.
Oh yeah, they are curious, and it's curious the lineup. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I noticed that Colin and Peter, two of the biggest ones, and yet they're the two grumpiest doctors. I wonder what that's saying.
Well, we'll move on. Yeah, so that's that for you. If you want those, forbiddenplanet.co.uk.
We've got another CD as well. Now, this is part of a range. Well, I don't know if this is it is available as a physical item as well, but it's on Audible. I couldn't quite work it out. Have you managed to get to the bottom of this, JT?
Yes, I have. This is actually a new series, Tales of Time and Space from BBC Digital Audio. It is available to download. It is available on a CD. Its recommended retail price is £13. It is available from the 2nd of June, and as you can see, there are various stories. Now I do have the blurb here: 9 exclusive adventures featuring a multitude of doctors and companions. Now these are stories that I am sure have been on CD before, because as you can see, it's Men of War, Horrors of War, and Fortunes of War for the First Doctor. So these are, again, it's one of these little compilation things that the BBC Audio people are doing. Yeah, so it's putting them all together in what I'm assuming is a slipcase. So that's coming out for you. If you're interested in these things, the readers, as you may be able to see there: Peter Purvis, Katie Manning, Colin Baker, Susan Jameson, Fraser Hines, Nicola Bryant, Dan Starkey, and somebody called Jacob Dudman, who I don't know. And there you go.
He's a young lad that does impressions of the New Who Doctor.
He's known for doing a very good Matt impression.
So he must be doing that one then.
Smith is incredible. I'm not so keen on the other ones.
He is incredible, I have to say. Very impressive.
There you go. It's interesting though.
Recycling, then, isn't it? This is repackaging. This is.
They tend to do this a lot. They do these lovely little gift sets and slipcase sets with a lot of stuff that they've already got out there. So yes, if you've missed any of them, or if you're interested in getting taken up on them, there you go. That is out, as I say, on the 2nd of June and available to pre-order now.
Also wanted to know if you knew about, where is it? Yeah, I've got this here. And in fact, I think it was you that sent it to me originally. What do we know about this as well? Because I know that Dungeons and Dragons is back in a pretty big way, thanks to Stranger Things and Critical Role, which Charlotte, you told us about. But
it's become popular again, basically.
Yeah. So has that had this knock-on effect? Because there's always been Doctor Who role-playing games, and I don't think they've ever 100% gone away. But this has surfaced a starter set for something new. I think it's a 2nd edition, JT. So who's putting this out, and what's it part of?
Okay, well, I've got the blurb here because this is very much not my thing at all. I mean, I got a role-playing game years ago with Tom Baker on the cover and never could fathom the blooming thing out. 1981, do you remember, Simon, when that came out?
The artwork was lovely on the front cover, that was it.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah, but this one is, again, available to order now from forbiddenplanet.com. Now, to give it its full title, Spacebookers, it's the Cubicle 7 Doctor Who, the role-playing game starter set, 2nd edition. So I'll give you the blurb if I may. No, I'll give you the blurb because some of the Spacebookers will know what it's about. Doctor Who, the role-playing game.
I'd like to give this a try, you see. Go on.
Should we do it live? Should we do it live?
Give us the sales pitch, JT. Give us the sales pitch.
Here it is. Doctor Who, the role-playing game starter set contains everything you need to start your adventures across all of space and time. Whether you're a complete beginner at role-playing games, I have to say that with a smile. Or looking for, I just think of somebody dressed up as a nurse with a whip. Do you know what I mean? Whether you're a complete beginner at role-playing games or looking for an epic new campaign, this box set is the perfect starting point for anyone wanting to experience the vast universe of Doctor Who. The Timeless Library is a brand new adventure for players of all experience levels. It sends a group of new and varied companions on a journey to a vast library filled with dangerous artifacts and even more dangerous invaders.
Wow.
The story then continues in the epic campaign, The Echo Chamber, and a quest to recover the Hermit's Lantern, providing new and established characters a wealth of adventure that will take them to surprising new worlds. Spacebookers, I hope you understand what I'm talking about because I haven't a clue. So what you get in this set is, I read this first introduction sheet, which would take me all year, 5 ready-made characters, the Timeless Library Adventure Book, the Echo Chamber Campaign Book, which many of Jodie's fans will be probably in, 2 rules reference sheets, 60 plus story point tokens, and 3 custom dice. I don't know why you need 3 dice. Bring back Kaplunk, I say. It's much easier. An exciting new adventure that teaches you the rules as you play. Makes
we need that.
And yes, there you go. Now, the one thing I couldn't find out about this was the price. So, go to forbiddenplanet.com. They may have the price up there by now if you're interested, if you're a role player. And if you are, please let us know if it makes any sense to you.
It does to me a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Good then, that's all right.
It's basically, if you think about it this way, they've basically taken the idea of Dungeons and Dragons and just put a Doctor Who skin on it.
But I didn't understand Dungeons and Dragons, Charlotte.
I understood the cartoon and the little unicorn. That was quite fun. Tea time. Yeah.
Carol Jude says that she plays that.
Oh, really?
Which asks where the bleep is the TARDIS already. So we may have a taker there. So let's know how you get on with that, Carol.
Yeah. Send us a review, please, Carol. That would be great because it goes over our heads.
This is a bit more like it. When I think of games, this is a bit more like it. When I see something like this, this is more like a board game that I know about, JT. Do you know anything about Don't Blink?
I do know about this. This is actually, I have to share, I'm actually quite interested in this as well because I like the old-fashioned board games. I don't care what anybody says. I can understand them because you have to go around the board. So this is, again, you can order this from forbiddenplanet.com. Apparently it is coming onto Amazon and it might be going into selected shops. Now, I don't know if that's just the Forbidden Planet shops or some of the, what's left of the sci-fi fantasy shops, but have a look if you're out there if you're interested. What I know about this is it's from Gale Force 9 and it's Don't Blink board game. Here again is the pitch. The TARDIS has crashed on a derelict spaceship full of weeping angels. terrifying killers that can only be stopped by staring at them. But if you dare to stop looking, even if you blink, they'll send you out of time. Will the Doctor and companions be able to get all the pieces to repair the TARDIS in time, or will the Weeping Angels succeed where so many adversaries have failed before? Don't Blink is a challenging tactical board game in which up to 4 players control the Doctor and the companions, attempting to collect 4 parts to repair the TARDIS and escape. One player takes on the role of the terrifying Weeping Angels and attempts to outmaneuver and capture them. It's for players 2 to 5, ages 14 plus. They say it takes around about 30 minutes to play the game, unless you're with us, which will take you a couple of days. And its retail price is $29.99. So
Ooh,
I saw, but don't quote me on that. I don't know.
That's pretty reasonable for something that could entertain a whole family, Simon, or if you have mates round or whatever.
It absolutely looks like my kind of game, that does. I mean, £30 sounds a bit steep for what looks like a cardboard board with some cardboard stand-ups and some little cards.
Dice in there. What's wrong with you?
It's absolutely my kind of board game. I am thinking we should do a whole live show. Maybe we just play this board game.
Do you know what gets me about the board games? Because I am quite interested in this, but I've learned the art of waiting as a Doctor Who fan, which I know we all can't do. We have to have things immediate, but I've learned the art of waiting for this because sometimes they appear in the works for like really, really cheap stuff, like the one with the Daleks, the brief history of the Daleks. Wherever I've got that, there somewhere. I got that for $7.99 in the works. You know, so I don't
picked up lots of bargains there too.
Yeah,
right.
So let's wait.
Just the kind of thing that would end up in the works. That is absolutely.
Garbage says that. Where's the comment? Yeah, it basically says the same thing as you. It looks like a good game, but it's all made of cardboard. Yeah, but I suppose the imagination and the playability. It's how it makes you feel, isn't it? The emotion.
I'm not knocking it. I say it seems a bit pricey.
I agree with you.
I'm not knocking it. Love a good board game. I love board games. So yeah,
I'm the same. Yeah, I do like them. It's what used to make things special.
People
when we were
raising
kids,
the game here on the puns. We've got the TARDIS there from Richard Brook. That's
lovely.
a good one. Keep the puns coming. You know we love a pun here on Type 40 Live.
Yes, we do love a pun.
Absolutely marvelous. Yeah, I've never been a gamer, either a computer gamer, a console gamer, or a board game person. But I do think that getting together and playing games like that, like say Christmas or Easter or birthdays, or even just when you've all had a skinful, can kind of bring people together. And finally, JT, we've got this mystery item here, which this is a bit of a weird one because we can't actually officially properly tell you what it is, but we're going to tell you that it's coming, and what we think it is, and what JT's managed to fertile out from where he can. So this is the listing, isn't it, JT? What is it? What's going on?
Now, as you can see, this is from Amazon.co.uk. Now, this has been received quite well because, as you can see, it's called an Untitled Illustrated. It's a hardback cover, which is coming around about the 10th of November. But look at the author. Now, I've been watching this and trying to find out exactly what was going on about this. But when I found this last week, it was listed on the very same link, on the very same page as Doctor Who and the Daleks Illustrated.
Whoa.
Okay.
So what I saw, look at the price. It's up there at £20. Now and it's hardback. I immediately thought a lovely, beautiful illustrated coffee table book of the David Whittaker Doctor and the Daleks. Let's hope it is. Yeah, we've put the feelers out. I've got people out there who haven't got back to me yet. If as soon as we hear Spacebook is what this is, or as soon as we get our grubby little protuberances on a cover, we will let you know. But let's keep looking at that one because I'm really keen. If this is going to be a coffee table, beautifully illustrated book of the David Whittaker Doctor and the Daleks target book, then I really have to have that one.
Absolutely. That looks superb.
Crimpling Doubloon speculates it could be the collected Dalek strips. We've only just had that, haven't we?
Yeah, they've only just
had that. Yeah.
Yeah,
there we go.
I'm going for Doctor and the Daleks, I have to say.
Let's keep our fingers crossed and we'll keep it going. We'll let you know as soon as we hear any more. Obviously, we'll put it on the show and we'll talk to you about that, but we'll keep up to date with that. Just the final thing that we're going to talk about today as well. If you are collecting the character options sets from B&M, I am absolutely with you there. It's hell to try and find these things. Not all of the B&Ms get them. You have to trek all around the country to get them, but the robot set is arriving in stores now. None of us know which ones they're out there. Good luck if you're going to get them. Let me know if you get one, because if I don't, you're going to go get me another one.
I know somebody who's got one and is very, very
looking.
interested in it.
Yeah.
This week. I can't find any.
I've been to 6 in my local sort of region. None of them have it yet. I know they've arrived in places like Glasgow and parts of Manchester and stuff, but good luck if you're going to get one, and let's all hope that if we are collecting them, we do. I am really keen to get that.
We have people in the chat who have confirmed that they've managed to secure one of these sets. Yeah, say, well, I hope you enjoy it. And I've wanted several of these sets over the last year. I will be a little knocked if I don't get my hands on one of these, because I've always wanted a giant robot. I could live without the Tom. I've got a few Toms, but I just think the robot is striking, particularly with the corrected colours there, more screen accurate colours than the original release that was put out. So yeah, let us know what you find out again, JT, if you can tell us which stores. See if we can get a list of managers that are sympathetic to our cause.
not many of them are, I can assure you. I'll have to say hello to my local B&M store. They're fed up with me because every time this happens, they know it's going on because I'm in there every day. So
no, pressed up against the glass like that kid in the, what's it, A Christmas Story or Miracle on 34th Street. He's there just looking up the window.
Yeah, I'm there with the deliveries.
I can so imagine that. Yeah, thank you for that merchandise roundup there, JT. Absolutely invaluable information. And yeah, I mean, particularly that book, the mystery book. I think we'd all want to follow that story meticulously to see where it may lie. Last week we talked about a piece of merch, sort of. Is it merch? Is it not? I don't know. So, sorry. It's not just me, Charlotte. He doesn't like it when I do. It's not just you. He doesn't like it when I do it either. Okay, last week we talked about Doctor Who magazine. Just as we were putting the live stream out, that magazine was being opened by Doctor Who fans all over the UK. In particular, I think it's probably overseas in the next couple of weeks. And we were finding that they had printed the ratings for Series 13, and it had caused quite a fuss because they'd gone ahead and printed figures that were not available anywhere else. And we didn't have this last week. We've got the graphic this week. This is what they printed. These are figures issued by Barb and compiled there by Tom Spilsbury, as always, for Panini, for Doctor Who magazine. And there we see not just those 28-day figures that get published about Doctor Who ratings, but there's the 7-day, what we know as the consolidated figures. But there, crucially, for the very first time, we have live figures. The amount of people who actually watched Doctor Who made it a priority for them on the night at the exact time of transmission. And it turns out the figures that we have known that have been circulated as the official overnight figures over the last few years, in particular, since the ratings compilation, since they were adjusted to incorporate these 28 days and 4-screen and all these other things, turns out that they've been incorporating people who watched later that evening on iPlayer into the overnight figures. These are actually true representations of how many people tuned in to watch Doctor Who that night, confirming, Simon, that Series 13 of Doctor Who, starring Jodie Whittaker, John Bishop and Mandip Gill, have logged not just the lowest ratings in the history of New Doctor Who, but the lowest ratings in the history of Doctor Who. Completely confirmed. There are the figures. It's caused quite a fuss, particularly on Twitter. Everything causes a fuss on Twitter. People taking Doctor Who magazine to task. How dare they publish these figures?
Oh, you see, they're biting them now, are they?
Oh, yeah. Apparently, they should have not released these figures. It was malicious and destructive, and people rounding on Tom Spilsbury, who, this is, I don't know Tom, but I know that he knows, he's meticulous about these figures. I took the piss a little out of him last week because he does spin these figures in those columns. But
yeah, who called him Tom Spinsbury out of the space book?
Yeah, it was clever, that, wasn't it?
Brilliant.
I got to give him his due. I wouldn't want to be the guy that compiles these all the time. If he publishes a figure, it is accurate and it does confirm. And for anybody who's enjoyed Series 13, again, God bless you. That's fine. We like that you like it. You enjoy what you enjoy, whatever. The fact is that the failure of Series 13 in particular and the entire Chris Chibnall era couldn't be more clear, could it, Charlotte?
Oh, no. And it's, like you said, we haven't had these live figures. And I'm a bit mystified why Doctor Who magazine, which traditionally has been in the corner of Doctor Who, especially the current era, who was traditionally always try to hype it up and make it seem better than it's actually been doing. I'm still a bit mystified why on earth they've published the live figures, because you cannot say that the show is a priority anymore for the fan base with those figures. If on the night, by the time we get to Eve of the Daleks, you are just having 2 million people watch your episode, and that's a special. That's what's shocking about that. I remember when the overnights came in for Eve of the Daleks, and I was really surprised by the overnights. But that's even worse now. Now it's the live, because it's a special that tends to be when if you've lost people in the series, sometimes they'll come back for a special.
Well, and of course the other thing, Charlotte, following on from that, is when you look at the chart positions, starting.
Oh yeah, it's just getting down.
They just go down and down. So we start with the Halloween Apocalypse, the first part of Flux, in the 8th position. That's respectable. That's within the top 10, and that's the only one that is within the top 10. And then everything else just plummets. And so by the time we get to Eve of the Daleks, which, as you say, is the special episode that generally brings a few people back, and it's 26th. It's shot. That's more than that's more than 3 times down on the Halloween Apocalypse.
But also that's New Year's Day, so it's not. It's slightly different. I mean,
that's the reason. Of course, we forgot. It's the excuse.
Yeah, it's so different, isn't it?
People were doing other things on New Year's Day. Of course, they were.
Yeah.
Of course, a public holiday, captive audience, a hungover audience, JT, and yet still, this is the best that they could do. You could say that we told them so. We knew this would happen, but really,
the
it
one
feels
thing,
like
Dan,
we're at the wake now, rather than.
It's dead and buried, isn't it? Dead and buried.
The one thing that really does need pointing out here, because I remember just having so many arguments with people on Facebook about those damned overnights, and people kept on saying, let's wait for the full 7-day, let's wait for the full 28-day, let's see what the chart is, etc., etc. We were constantly shouted down, us who were saying, look, this is not working, we're constantly shouted down, being endlessly told, wait and see what the final results are. Well, here we are. We've now got the final results, and they're catastrophic. So I feel vindicated, but I also feel irritated that we were constantly being told to shut up and wait for the final results. We've now got them.
It also proves what I've always said, that these rating systems from the BARB, God love them, don't work when it comes to Doctor Who context, because you will get the diehard Doctor Who fans that will watch the episode live, or one of them, and then he or she, probably she, will go and watch it immediately on the iPlayer 2 or 3 times to take it in. I can relate to that, because when I was a kid, Charlotte, you won't believe this, but when I was a kid, I would record the show on audio.
Yeah.
And then I would go back and listen to it over and over again on an audio cassette. That's how I can recite the lines of episodes, because it's in here. It's all in here. But they do the same now with iPlayer. They go back and watch it, and it bumps up the figure. It's just not, and it's not the public watching it. It's the diehard who love that show, who love that version of the show. The minority that love that version of the show.
Well, the 2 million of them that we can now say.
But I don't think that's even 2 million, because that could be 10 people watching it 400 times each, because they'll watch it through the week as well. Do you see what I'm saying? Because
but
it's so
that's the live
now.
figure. That's my point. That's the live figure. You can't do that on repeat. That's on.
Well, it includes the iPlayer for the evening, doesn't it?
No, that's what.
No,
we're
is that
saying.
the next one? Right.
It's just pure.
So that shows you how much they've
Aidan
lost.
says here, everybody, Aidan McGear says they keep pushing the belief that ratings don't matter when it suits them until they have good ratings, and then they'll talk about how great the ratings are, which is, that hasn't happened for a long, long time. But when they go down again, it doesn't matter again. Yeah, and sure enough, there was some spinning being done at these figures afterwards. It's all long and drawn out, but we can all read the arrow points. The arrow points just that one way, the same way it has consistently for the best part of 3 years. It's all over bother shouting. Much nicer things to come. We hope. We have high hopes for the future of Doctor Who, and we are here celebrating the love of Doctor Who. And that's. But we couldn't possibly let that sit without mentioning it, because we did break the story last week. So we're going to go back now to. We're going to look at some pretty pictures in a moment, but we do have to say good night to Charlotte. Thank you for your company as always and your input, Charlotte.
Bye, Charlotte.
Bye.
Speak to you again soon.
Have a jammy dodger.
See you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, although we're not overrunning as much as usual, but we are overrunning again. Let's look at some final pretty pictures, shall we, from the show?
Please.
Yay.
First of all, we've got this from Georgia Cook over on Twitter, a lovely digital picture of Bill Potts as played by Pearl Mackie there. I just thought that was lovely.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I'm not a fan remotely of Pearl Mackie or Bill, but that is a superb piece of art. And what I love about it is I love the sort of blue neon look that gives it a real sort of 80s vibe. I just like it. It's just a good piece of art.
Looks like Beverly Knight to me.
I love Beverly Knight too. But yeah,
she's lovely, Beverly Knight, isn't she? What a talent. I love her.
She's from just up the road from us, isn't she, Dan? Beverly
Is
Knight?
she? Oh my God, get up and get her a signed album for me. I love her.
She's in Panto in Stourbridge Town Centre in a few weeks' time. From the West End to Stourbridge Town Centre. I couldn't quite believe I love Beverly Knight. But
she's in Panto at this time of year.
I know it's a charity thing. That's how they've managed to get her at Stourbridge Town Hall because
She's lovely. I do like her.
Anyway,
beautifully done there, George. I think that does it's got an electric 80s aspect to it, which I really, really like. That fits with the character of Bill and just ticks a lot of boxes. But if that's not to your taste, maybe you'd like to go a little more traditional. How about this one? This is the newest one from Oliver Arkenstall-Jones. This is his latest painting.
Yes. Oh, lovely.
That is superb. We're back, aren't we, to this sort of Italian giallo look.
That's exactly what he said he was doing there. But you can see that on either a book cover or a DVD cover, couldn't you? Dead easy. Yeah, beautiful.
I love the skull that is emerging from SV7. That's just magnificent. I want that on my wall.
Yeah, and it works for the fact there's no doctor. The iconic Tom is not in that, but it's you've got Leela there instead. Yeah, but it still works, doesn't it? It's just brilliant.
It does.
I mean, I do note that very rarely does an episode of Type 40 Live go by without we mention the robots.
I know, it's one of our favourites. Yeah,
it seems to inspire artwork. It seems to have so much of our collective affection again.
Yeah. But, what is it? I wonder what it is about robots, don't you?
I think.
Well, yeah. I mean,
everything aligned.
We really need to do that show that we keep saying about robots, and we can explore that and why it hits us all because we all love it. It is a Type 40 favourite.
Lots of people admiring this in the chat. Great poster says Blue Planet. Problem being, our mate says, love that. I've saved it to my computer from Twitter. So yeah, go and I think Oliver Arkenstall-Jones. He's got a website. That's what I go to. But I understand he is on some social media. I'm not sure. I think fairly high res. But you can buy these as prints sometimes. I don't think he does prints of everything that he puts out, but he's quite selective.
Think so. Yeah, he's selective.
Limited numbers, aren't they, JT? Which you can understand because I think he puts them out as high quality prints rather than you can print them off at home or whatever. But I'm sure he'd appreciate if you follow him on Twitter and get in touch and tell him how much you love his work and tell him that Type 40 sent you. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on. And we've also got another piece of art, slightly different style, but I really liked it and I thought it fit quite nicely with the topic that we've got this time, because love is really all that matters. We all know that, and friendship is absolutely essential. And happiness will prevail. Everybody, happiness will prevail.
Happiness will prevail. Feels high for happiness.
That's really quite cool.
This is from over on Instagram and the work of Diocinia. That's all I have. I don't know who this is, but a lot of their work is in a similar style. It's that kind of Ghibli style. I think that's what you call it, influenced by Japanese artwork, animation, all that kind of thing. And, sometimes some of this kind of artwork leaves me a little cold, but there's something about this I really like. I'm not even sure who some of the characters are, but I think it captures the flavour of the Happiness Patrol really nicely. The fact that it's all meant to be set outdoors at night, or most of it is, and Diocinia has attempted to capture that, and McCoy's expression there. But the pink TARDIS has become a little iconic of late. I think there's an action figure set that may be coming out with the pink TARDIS.
That's just a rumor. That's always been a fan. Well, it's not always been. The last couple of years, especially, it's been a fan wish. Yeah, there's this thing about the pink TARDIS because of the political implication that it may carry. It's bizarre.
Oh yeah.
But it's a shame because it was never meant like that at the time.
No, never. And I don't think the production team of the time would appreciate it, to be honest.
No, of course not.
But do you think, guys, that the fact that this Japanese style fits because a lot of characters have got painted faces in the story, that it kind of works?
I have to be honest, I think it works really, really well. I just think it's a really nice piece of artwork. And yet again, if nothing else, it makes me realise how inspirational Doctor Who is to so many people. It's just in so many different ways. I mean, who would ever? That was the last kind of picture I was expecting you to put up, because we've never had anything like that put up before. But but that's what's so cool. I just like the fact that Doctor Who is this never-ending source of inspiration for so many different people. It's great. It's original. I've never seen a single piece of Doctor Who art like that in my life before, and so all credit to Diacinia for that. It's great. Love it.
And yeah, there's a few fans of Chiblee in the chat. It would seem people watching on YouTube recognised it immediately and knew exactly which style it was without me having to look it up. So I could have just asked you guys. Loving all this art, said James Fitzpatrick. Garbage notes that Sylvester looks like Inspector Gadget.
Indeed, he does actually.
It kind of does, yeah. Peter Harrington, though, would like the white TARDIS from the Mind Robber. I'm kind of with you too.
I love that white TARDIS.
Wouldn't say no to either. Perfect for this episode. I also love the headlights. That's a nice touch, isn't it? I can't pronounce that name.
Demorpin, I'm guessing.
Demorpin. There we go. Peter Harrington says best creative fans in Who, and Ace looks quite penny. Maybe this is an Inspector Gadget tribute piece and I just didn't know it. But yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Cool.
We've got another Go Gadget go there. But yeah, whatever it is, I just thought it was a beautiful piece of fan art, completely unique. I haven't really seen anything like it before. Yeah. I wanted to show it to you guys.
Yeah,
and round off. It's kind of a way of giving my two mates here, giving them a big virtual hug. I'm sending it out. I send it to you every week. Of course I do. Both. Of course I do. But yeah, that does wrap up our live stream for this week, Type 40 Live. Yet again, it's been a blast. We've had discussion. We've had nostalgia. We've had laughs. We've had ads. We've had merchandise, JT.
We've had a load of nonsense, just in a different order to where it usually is in.
That's the principle.
And guess what? More coming next week.
Almost certainly. Absolutely. And maybe the return of one mega geek. I think he's off filming in the depths of Yorkshire at the moment, up to his knees in all sorts, and perfecting his craft. Now, as we know, Ian, they obviously paid his rider and it sorted everything out for him. 100 weight, his body weight in cornettos and his usual fees. But I would imagine he'll be back in one piece with us very, very soon. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video, and particularly if you've been here this long, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we'll be doing it all again very, very soon. And you've got to hit that little bell, hit the cloister bell to get the notifications about what's coming next on the channel, when loads more Doctor Who, lots of stuff outside the TARDIS too, and podcast live streams, whatever else, with all of these faces and some more of our friends. Please continue to drop us comments in the comment section too, particularly if you're watching this on, I suppose, what the BBC would call catch-up. If you're watching this after the fact, if you're streaming us later, and you're struck with inspiration about any of the topics from tonight, if you're wondering what the mystery book is that JT has found for us there, or if you've got some memories, maybe you've met Annette Crosby too, maybe you were also bumped into Rula Lenska while she was in the Frozen section, I don't know. Let us know where you saw, who you saw. And you have that subject as well too, about love and romance in Doctor Who. Have we got it right, or have we got it all wrong? Who do you agree with? Where do you sit on all that? Do you want more or less when it comes to all new Doctor Who? We'll definitely be coming back to that topic in the next few months. Get in touch, keep that engagement up, and please hit the like. It matters more than you think. One last look in the chat. Say goodnight to some of our pals here, shall we? We've got a lol. We've got lots of good nights. Great stuff, as always, gents. Thanks to you and the super chat tonight. Good night, everybody. We're great up here. Later, everyone. Thanks all. Lovely company and a great stream, as always, says Wendy. Good to see you too, Wendy. And night, guys. And goodbye, everybody. Yeah, thank you to everybody who's been so active in the chat, getting involved in all that nonsense and getting into the spirit of things.
I won't be here next week, so I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. I'm not here next week.
We're a Hoonatic down next time. Have a great weekend, everyone. That's the same to you. Big hugs from our friend, the lovely Mina. Big hugs and kisses. Night all, says Sadako24.
We love you.
And our friend Christian says, like, share, subscribe. Send love to all the Doctor Who indie podcasters. Boo, says James. He's just waking up and we're going to bed. I don't know. More next time. Lots of hugs and kisses. Absolutely. Thank you, JT. Thanks, Simon. Lovely to spend a couple of hours in your company as always. Same to all of you out there. But that is it for this time. Good night, everybody. Thank you for your time. Loads of love.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.